3, 2.
Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to Bready Cricket Club in the northwest of Ireland. It's the second Interpro Festival and it's the second match of the second festival here on day one in beautiful Bready. We've managed to get some sunshine and it's the two sides who've travelled the furthest for this weekend. It's the Munster Reds against the reigning champions, the Leinster Lightning. They've won 6 of the 8 editions of this IP20 series. But they're up against it, losing 2 matches, losing back-to-back matches for the first time, I think, ever in the Interpro series. So can they bounce back? Their solitary win last week was against the Munster Reds. They'll be looking to get another win on the board and add to their 5 points on the total. A little while ago, Andrew Blair-White was out with the 2 captains. The captain's PJ Moore, who's replacing Tyrone Kane, who's out with that ankle injury. And George Dockrell of the Leinster Lightning. Let's go and find out what happened.
Good afternoon and welcome to Bready for Game 8 of the IP20 series between the Leinster Lightning and the Munster Reds. Delighted to be joined at the toss by the match referee Graham McRae, the Munster Reds captain PJ Moore and the Leinster Lightning captain George Dockrell. Graham's got the coin and PJ is going to call. PJ, you're bowling first. Reasons behind that decision?
We just feel it's obviously a fresh wicket. We've picked an extra seamer today, so we feel we'll make the most of the conditions and hopefully bowling's the right option.
And you watched the first game. What will you have learned from that game going forward into yours?
Well, obviously the dimensions of this ground are quite different to Pembroke, so big boundary out to the one side, obviously got to bowl a bit smarter. A little bit of indifferent bounce to begin with, that's what we noticed, so yeah, we'll just see how it plays.
And team news for you today?
So Ali Frost comes in, he makes his debut, and Mitchell Thompson goes out from the last game.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very
Cheers.
much, PJ. George batting first. Ideally, would have bowled.
We were thinking about batting, to be honest. I really don't think there's too much in the toss in terms of that. You know, we've had a bit of drying, a bit of sun, and a fair bit of wind over the day. So I think it's a little bit sticky wicket, and it's probably more about who does the job best.
And 1 win from 3 games last weekend wouldn't have been potentially ideal, but a great chance to get back into it now and have a good weekend.
Yeah, it's fantastic that you have these T20 weekends back to back. You can kind of get back on the horse as soon as possible. We were probably disappointed with those results, but at the same time, I don't think we're a million miles off where we need to be. So look, if we can start with a win today, that'll be great.
And team news for your side?
Rory Andrews comes in for JJ Garth, who's out of the squad this weekend, and yeah, that's the only change.
Perfect. Thank you to George and thank you to PJ. The news from the middle this afternoon is that PJ Moore and the Munster Reds have won the toss and they'll bowl first.
So the news from the toss with Andrew Blair-White was about 25 minutes ago. Interesting to hear George Dockrell saying he was happy enough to bat first if he'd won the toss, but PJ Moore deciding to have a bowl. So it means the reigning champions, the Leinster Lightning, will be having a bat, and big moment for Kevin O'Brien. Very difficult weekend last weekend for him, Peter. We've got Peter Gillespie joining me here, Andrew Leonard in the commentary box. No runs, but you could tell it was an emotional weekend, announcing his 50 over retirement just as the series got going.
Yeah, a fantastic servant to Ireland cricket across all formats, the first person to score 100 in all formats. It's not an easy decision. I've been there when it's such a big part of your life, but he obviously felt the time was right. And I don't know whether that decision was weighing on his mind, but you're right, he didn't perform last weekend, and Leinster will be looking for him to put in some big performances, which we know he's capable of this weekend.
Did you think the timing was right?
It's difficult. He struggled over in Holland. You could see that.
Only played 1 game there.
Yeah. And, maybe the team's evolving. Maybe he knows something from inside the camp that we don't know. And he obviously felt it was time to take a back step. He's still focusing on 2020 and Test cricket, whatever that time comes around again. So he obviously feels comfortable in his decision himself. So we'll see how it pans out.
Yeah, I'd expect him to bounce back strongly today. He's going to open the batting with Simi Singh. But yeah, low scores in all 3 games last week for O'Brien. It was an emotional weekend, no doubt about that, and hopefully a bright new future. Several years of cricket in him, you'd like to think. He's established a really formidable partnership in T20 cricket at the top of the order with Paul Sterling for Ireland. It's been revolutionary the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, those guys have really taken up the mantle of 2020 cricket. They've got Ireland off to fast starts all over the world, and Ireland will be looking for those guys again to keep that going. He'd like to get some form. I'm sure he'd like to start here today. We finished the last weekend's festival with a bang, and we started this week's festival with a bang, and hopefully these two sides can continue in that vein.
Well, Brian, the leading strike rate of any player to play at least 8 matches in the IP20 over the years, he strikes at over 150, 152, just ahead of Greg Thompson. Greg, who forced his way back in, not involved with the Knights anymore. Max Sorensen up there. George Dockrell, perhaps a little surprisingly, striking at 140, not known necessarily as a big hitter. James Shannon rounding out that top 5. Going to be Aaron Cawley with the new ball. Yeah, I think Irish fans all the way around the world will want to see a return to form for big Kevin O'Brien, 37 years of age now. Just the way William Porterfield bounced back to form. One bad weekend does not make you a bad player. But for the Reds, another big weekend ahead. Shorn of their best 3 players, arguably. Gareth Delaney, Curtis Campher and Tyrone Kane misses out this weekend. And the news from the Reds camp for Tyrone Kane, I think it's ankle ligament damage. It was a nasty injury in that first over of the match. He's going to be out for probably something in the region of 6 weeks, Peter.
Yeah, that's a huge loss for the Reds. He's obviously been asked to get on to Munster and do a job, lead the team, take on extra responsibility. It's been pretty well documented throughout the journalists in Cricket Ireland. They feel that he has a big opportunity down there, and for him to go so early.
Edged, and is that the little bit of fortune that O'Brien needs? If second slip was in place, it would have gone straight to him. Cawley's caused problems, but it goes past Jack Carty at first slip. That could have been a chance if they had the 2 slips in.
Yeah, it's a big gamble to put 2 slips in a 20 over game. But you're right, Kevin. It would have been straight down his throat there. Maybe that is the rub of the green that he needs. He's certainly not the man you want to be given too many chances to.
I think the interesting thing for me from talking to both Nigel Jones, the Leinster Lightning head coach, and O'Brien this week, O'Brien took the weekend like the kind of champion that he is, got his head down into 4 net sessions this week and will find his way back into form. Simi Singh beaten outside the off stump. Singh at the top of the order, is that something you like from the Lightning?
Yeah, we can see he's a quality player and he scores at very good rates. 2020 is all about trying to capitalise on those power play overs, trying to get the team off to a fast start. We've seen the approach that the Northwest Warriors have taken. They're really throwing all their eggs in one basket, and Lightning likewise. Get off to a fast start. It's going to be very hard to rein them in.
Loves that down the track, inside out, just skewing off the outside edge. The third man. Singh holds one of just 2 centuries that have ever been made in the IP20, the other one going to John Mooney of Leinster. But big scores is something we are not seeing at the moment for the individual batsmen. Just can't seem to get past in and around that 50 mark, anyone from any of the 4 sides.
No, and I think what we've seen in the first match is this wicket's going to offer a good contest between bat and ball. You're going to have to work hard for your runs, but if you're patient, you will get value.
Not convincing yet from O'Brien and Singh, probably just taking a little while to get adjusted to the pace of the wicket. Saw the groundsman out, Trevor Hamilton from Bready Cricket Club, not just rolling the pitch in between the 2 matches, but also taking a little bit of grass off the wicket. Were you surprised to see that?
I was surprised at that, yeah. He obviously will bow to his superior knowledge in these conditions, but I think William McClintock spoke very well and said you have to give yourself a bit of time at the crease, and once you do, you're going to get value. So
hit through the offside, it will pierce the infield, but it's the big side of the ground, so a big chase on, and it's going to go run away. The outfield not quick today with all that rain that we saw on Thursday, but the chase was in vain, and the first boundary of the day comes from the final ball of the first over. A nice shot through the offside for 4 from Singh.
Yeah, stood up very tall, tried to stay on top of the bounce, but I think you find what a lot of guys have found out so far, it's very hard to time the ball early on in your innings. There's nobody who's come in and went from the get-go.
Let's take a look at the Leinster Lightning team. This is of course not in batting order. We will not see David O'Halloran at number 4. Much and all as his batting's improving. The young Malahide men 13-man squad brought up the road. So Jack Tector coming back into the team and JJ Garth being left out in place for his Pembroke teammate Gavin Hoey. We won't see his leg spin today, but I'm sure we might see it tomorrow or the day after. Are you glad to see Rory Anders get a game for the Lightning?
Yeah, I think they were a bit devoid of seam options last week. They stuck with their 5 bowlers throughout the 3 games, and maybe they felt that they didn't have enough options when it came down to it, especially shipping 180 runs in a chase to the Warriors. Probably just wanted to have that extra option in there today, so Rory Anders comes in, and I think as conditions have shown, he'll get value for seam bowling here.
Gonna be Josh Manley to open the bowling. Kevin O'Brien gets that away into the leg side. Going to be runs for him. Going to be his first boundary, not just of today, but of the T20 season. You're so short of runs up in Pembroke. You don't want to let this man get into form. He's so devastating wherever he bats in the order. O'Brien's away with a boundary through the leg side.
Yeah, and a welcome sight for all Irish fans and Leinster Lightning fans. See Kevin O'Brien getting the ball to the boundary. It doesn't matter where they go as long as they come off the bat. They go down to him. Good to see.
Almost an action replay, but not quite the same pace. And O'Brien slips as he comes back. He's going to need to get going. He does get going. He's just a little bit wet there, those areas just off the square. I thought for a moment Kev may end up face planting. He's having to readjust himself, but he's relieved to get back for 2.
Kevin had to get his huge frame going there again. It was it was almost like 2 runs. He stopped and started and stopped and then went. And you can see there that just bit of green. The square's quite lush here. Not a lot of cricket wickets cut, which you would normally see at this time of the season, so you need to be careful with your footing.
Watchful from O'Brien. Would you have decided to bowl first if you were captaining today and you'd won the toss, Peter?
It does scream bowling conditions, but I mean the Northwest won the first match batting first. There's a lot to be said for a total on the board. I do think there's probably more of an even contest between bat and ball than maybe we're giving conditions credit for. It screams bowling first, but I don't think it's kind of one of those tosses you wouldn't be worried about either way.
Everything being into the pad so far of O'Brien. He's annoyed he didn't get that one a little square, get it away for at least a single. Do you feel that opening game, if you're just joining us this afternoon, we had a real thriller? You can go back onto YouTube and take a look through the highlights, particularly the finish, but the Warriors almost, to me, it felt like they out-managed the game. They out-thought the Knights in that match.
Yeah, and they were at times they were comfortably ahead. Apart from that one over of Craig Young, they were comfortably winning the game. So yeah, up until then, I think they did manage conditions better. You've seen that when boundaries came, they came in clusters. When wickets came, they came in clusters. But the people that decided they were going to apply themselves, take a look at the wicket, have a look at conditions. They were the guys we felt were most successful batting-wise throughout the innings.
And why is that? It's just taking time to adapt to the different conditions here in the Northwest?
There is a bit in for the bowler, so you just got to give yourself... You just got to give yourself a couple to really get the pace of the wicket, see what the lateral movement's like, And I think Rock batted very well, William McClintock batted very well, Shingeki batted very well, and any of the guys that are coming down to this game will surely have taken notice of that. So you can take those first couple of overs, get yourself in, get used to acclimatised, and then use that as your platform.
That one just drifting down the leg side from Manley, an acrobatic stop from PJ Moore, but he could only get a glove in it, so they'll get through not just for 1 wide but 2 wides. 3 runs to the total for the Leinster Lightning. Peter, you know Northwest cricket so well, you know what it means to the game as a whole here in Ireland as we get to the end of the second over. The score 16 for none. Is someone like a William McClintock, is he good enough to take that step up? I've spoken to some of the people in and around the selection panels. They say we don't know if he's good enough against 85, 90 mile an hour bowling yet, against really good left arm spin or leg spin going away from him. Do you think he does have the potential, the talent to step up to the Irish colours?
Well, I think he has the right structures around him to do it. There's always going to be that certain percentage that's up to the player himself. William came onto the scene a few years ago and he went backwards a bit. He didn't come on the way everyone had hoped for various reasons. He's in the fold now. He's a tremendous striker of the ball, and someone who can hit the ball that hard, that far and that cleanly can't be ignored. There's elements of his game that he can improve, no doubt, and we'll see in the next year or so how he develops.
But something I want to ask you about selection. Selection's always such a controversial thing. Everyone has their opinion. Every fan is entitled to their opinion. But statistic on Sky Sports the other day, we saw about how settled squads are and teams are. Since the last T20 World Cup in 2016, out of the 12 full members, Ireland has used the fewest number of players. Why is that? Do you think we need some new faces into the squad, or what's your take on that, Peter?
Yeah, I think freshening up any squad is a good idea. You know, what's the point in having interprovincial weekends, interprovincial games, if you're not going to have a look at guys that are performing and in form? There's always that striking that balance between selecting the guys who have done it for you in the past and selecting guys who are in form. So, you know, Kevin had a tough weekend last weekend, didn't score a lot of runs, but we just discard him, as you say, on the back of one weekend. And it's always finding the balance of just bringing in enough people not to upset the apple cart, but making sure that people get opportunities.
We've got a T20 World Cup later in the year. You think about that statistic about how few players we've used. We know what the likes of Simi Singh can bring to the squad. We know the quality that we have throughout the team, but are there maybe 2 or 3 people that have stood out to you already from last weekend or this weekend that we might see against South Africa and Zimbabwe, particularly in the T20 format?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's a strange one to see because, you know, you see William Porterfield, you see, you know, a bit of a resurgence. You're still talking about Kevin O'Brien, and the beauty of T20 is anybody can put their hand up, you know, and you've seen William burst on the scene. I'm very impressed with Shane Getgate's all-round ability, and I'm a big fan of his work ethic. Work ethic alone doesn't get you rewarded, but if he gets performances that show the effort that he puts in, then I think, you know, Shane can get more opportunities. Been in and around the squad a few times.
And that sort of power hitter slot at maybe 5, 6 or 7 is certainly something that Ireland needs, you'd have to think.
Yeah.
Glorious drive from O'Brien, just starting to find his range. Good diving stop at extra cover. We've seen O'Brien himself perform that role historically in the 50 over game, but now he's up at the top of the order in the T20 version. You think Getgate, what about maybe someone like a Matt Ford from Munster? He's been quite impressive at points. Yeah,
and possibly, and I mean, you have guys who you're playing in the longer format, the 50 over format, like Larkin Tucker, who, you know, you look at how many wicketkeepers around the world are real power hitters, are good batsmen, you know, so you're looking for guys to push on and really nail down slot. And I think the middle order, we've seen so often with Ireland that when Paul Sterling, Kevin O'Brien or Andrew Balbirnie don't get runs, Ireland struggle. So that middle order has become a bit of a problem in the last year or so.
And it feels like it's across all formats. The Dartha runs, maybe not just at international level, but even at interprovincial level. The batsmen have not been finding their flow. Singh dances down, that one strays down the leg side, will be signalled wide by Mark Hawthorne. Is there something behind that? Is it just the wickets? Is it the early season struggles?
Yeah, I think probably a combination of both. You know, coming off last year with COVID, you know, there was a dearth of cricket. Everyone felt that, you know, no one really got in any rhythm, any form, which is why the result against England last year was so impressive, because it came off the back of not a lot of cricket throughout a normal season. But then you come into this year and you see with someone like Andrew McBride straight away being put up the order, which he never had the chance to do for the Northwest Warriors, and saying, you're an international player, we're putting you up the order in the 50 over cricket. You know, and that can only help, because if he's going to come in late order for Ireland and he's been batting 3 or 4 for the Warriors, scoring runs, getting opportunities, even if he's batting lower down for Ireland, he's still going to come in on a bit of form, because he's getting an opportunity to play, which he hadn't been before. And then, you know, these festival weekends, and they get everybody together. They throw up a few wild cards. You mentioned Ford. William McClintock has had a couple of standout innings. So you know, these guys there's a mixture of guys who hadn't got opportunities before, established players, and then other guys being able to put their hand up kind of out of the blue.
You could make a case that William McClintock has played two of the best innings of the entire year in the interprovincials. That innings against the Northern Knights at Stormont in the 50 over version, backed up by the 50 today, both really taking innings, not just visually pleasing, but under a huge amount of pressure in both matches.
Absolutely. And the pressure alone tells you the story of where his mindset's at and how confident he is in his game.
Big swing and a miss from O'Brien. That's the natural shape that Manley gets away from the right-handers, well bowled.
But just going back to that point, Lenny, this is the unknown. You've got a slightly slowish, sticky wicket here at Bready. In Pembroke last week, is it going to be the same conditions you're going to get at Malahide against a South African team that are going to be getting the ball coming, waist height more at another 5 mile an hour? So
it might be more like 10 miles an hour. Big appeal and given. I thought that one might just be angling down, and Peter Gillespie indicating to me maybe height as well, but no question in Rowley Black's mind, he's given him. Kevin O'Brien gone for another low score, this time 9. Is this one out, Peter?
yeah, I agree, Lenny. It looked to be sliding down. But umpire Rowley Black had no hesitation. He was straight up with the finger on the request. And Kevin departs. He'll be disappointed. Yeah, as you say, possibly, another 10 overs, another 10 mile an hour faster. So it's different coming from this standard. In international cricket is a huge step up.
But how do Ireland bridge that gap? It's so difficult, isn't it? You go from the interprovincial structure, which everyone's been talking about, hugely improved this season with the addition of the fourth team, more fixtures. But how do you go from, like you said, facing maybe Josh Manley to facing Kagiso Rabada in an international with all the additional pressure, the television cameras everywhere? It's a big step up, isn't it?
Absolutely. There's absolutely no way you can replicate international cricket apart from international cricket, so you've got to try and make interprovincial cricket as strong as you can.
Beautifully bowled by Josh Manley. He's bowling a bit like Kagiso Rabada. He's just knocked over Kevin O'Brien. He very nearly makes it 2 and 2 balls, just half an appeal. Andy Balbirnie, the Irish captain, not the Lightning captain, the Irish captain in at number 3. He's been beaten with his first delivery. Good stuff this from Manley.
Yeah, he's bowled a great length there, and it's just shaped back in slightly, and it's just tucked him up.
I think that's come off the seam, and we haven't seen a huge amount of that. We've mainly seen, particularly from Manley this season, movement through the air and his natural away shape, but a good nip backer off the seam, and it surprised Balbirnie in his first delivery. Real pep in his step. And he edged. Could that be caught down at third man? What a catch! That is brilliant! A sensational grab from forward. He's come sprinting in from third man. Balbirnie's gone for a second ball duck. Manley's got 2 and 3 deliveries, and he is bowling like Kagiso Rabada right now. Superb from him.
Yeah, that's great. That one's just taken off away from Balbirnie, and the previous ball came back. We've seen William Porterfield drop one down there in a crucial position. Earlier we thought was that's a huge moment. That's a huge moment in the match. Greg
Ford taking a fantastic catch. He had to make good ground in. It's a short boundary down towards that third man region. A strange shot from Balbirnie as well, because it was almost like at the last minute he decided to turn it into an uppercut and actually look for the 4 or the 6 when the additional bounce maybe surprised him.
Yeah, I think that length caught him a bit by surprise. He seemed to be looking to press forward and then, as you say, rock back, change the angle of his bat and spooned it straight into third man's hand. Well, not straight into third man's hand, spooned it short of third man. He made it in. Absolutely fantastic catch. And that's the kind of half chances that Munster need to take. Two big Leinster Lightning players back in the hutch already.
Just the start the Reds will have wanted. Their stand-in captain PJ Moore standing in for Tyrone Kane. I wish Tyrone the best in his recovery. Really nasty. It was almost an innocuous incident in the first over of one of the games last week. George Dockrell to the crease. Brilliant over. It's a double wicket maiden. One of the overs of the IP20 so far. Well bowled, Josh Manley.
Fantastic over by Josh Manley there. I think as we've seen, he challenged the batsmen on both sides of the bat, inside edge and outside edge. Got rewarded fantastically with 2 big scalps. It's really putting Munster Reds on the front foot here at the start of this innings. But going back to your point there, Lenny, I think that we have to try and make the interventions as strong as we can. We have to try and get it as close to international cricket as we can. Try and find the best facilities that we can, try and produce wickets that are going to generate bounce, that are going to make the batsmen work harder, they're going to make the bowlers work harder for their wickets, and make sure they have their variations so that they don't disappear. And I think Cricket Ireland are striving to do that.
Jack Carty into the attack. He's immediately greeted by a pull shot, a fierce pull shot from Simi Singh. It beats the sprawling dive of Murray Cummins. Really good effort from him. It's quite close in there at mid-wicket. I don't think he got a hand in it. And the back of a length doesn't work from Carty to start with. Good shot from Singh.
Yeah, rock back really well there. And pierced the field. It'll be a welcome boundary for Leinster Lightning.
Singh dances down the track and doesn't get great timing on it, but he gets enough. I think that's probably a little bit off an inside edge. He really loves that shot, Singh. It's almost like he just prefer 5 or 10 miles an hour more pace in it, so he can't get that. He's going to put the pace onto it himself by dancing down the track. Good batting this.
Yeah, I think we can almost call it trademark Simi Singh now. But he's really put the pressure on Jack Carter here. First 2 balls, 2 boundaries. He's asking questions. We'll have to see what Carthy has in reply now.
Strange not to see Fionn Hand throwing the ball. He's turned into the real talisman of this Munster Red side in every capacity.
Yeah, it's different captain, different day, different circumstance. He obviously has his reasons. Fionn Hand's has been quite good for the Munster Reds. Aaron Colley as well, been impressed with him. Jack's getting the option here today, but so far he's struggled so far, 9 off 3.
Yeah, this is the real engine room of the Leinster Lightning with bat and the ball. George Dockrell and Simi Singh. I don't think you can overstate these 2 all-rounders' importance to this Lightning side.
No, absolutely not. And it showed last weekend when Kevin did struggle. These guys stepped up to the mark along with Andrew Balburney, and they're going to be asked to do the same again. Of course, we still have Lurkin Tucker to come.
It just feels like George Dockrell is eternally getting the Lightning out of trouble in recent times. How impressed have you been with his batting, not just this season, but the last 24 to 36 months?
Very impressed. I scored a wonderful knock up in Eglinton early in the year in the IP20 against the Northwest. And as you say, he's been asked to rescue the team time and time again, but that's the additional responsibility which has pushed him forward into the selectors' minds.
That is a glorious shot and almost right on cue, the perfect demonstration of the continued evolution of George Dockrell as a cricketer, as a leader, as a batsman. I think you won't see a finer exponent of a mid to late development of their batting. Look at that, the perfect technique. You'd argue around the Irish game there's probably no one more solid technically as well than George Dockrell with the bat these days.
It's a very impressive shot, and I think you can see there from that replay when he rocked back to make that adjustment in length, he just kept his head so still and put his hands through the ball nicely, and he's timed that ball as well as any ball's been timed today.
We've seen Dockrell now given his chance as a batsman who bowls a bit in the Irish side. Would you like to see him given a long term 1, 2, 3 year run in the Irish team as a batsman?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it speaks volumes for George's application that he's managed to turn that around, and I've done it myself in my career, so I know how difficult it can be to turn from a bowling all-rounder into a batting all-rounder, and he's getting numbers to justify.
Fionn Hand into the attack, and he's immediately treated by that trademark Simi Singh skip, hop and a jump down the wicket and hit through the offside for 4 more. Beats the sprawling dive again of Murray Cummins.
He really puts the bowlers under pressure. He doesn't let them settle into any length. He's just willing to take the fight to the bowler. He went down a leg stump just to give himself a little bit of room there. Didn't time it all that well, but enough to get another boundary.
Just wonder, was Murray Cummins feeling like he was in the game for a moment there? I think Fionn Hand thought immediately as the contact was made that was going to be hit straight to mid-off. He might just be saying to Murray Cummins, don't get too straight. Just come a little bit wider. The wind obviously piling across the ground that direction as well. Going to try and repeat the dose. That's a much more convincing shot. Takes the elevated route. No risk to that shot, in full control. Just a couple of bounces away across the rope. This is brilliant stuff from Simi Singh. Remember, he hit Fionn Hand for 22 and an over last week in this same fixture before Fionn Hand took that spectacular cut and bowled back-to-back boundaries.
Yeah, he offered him a little bit more width there, so he didn't have as much work to do, but he's not afraid to expose his stumps, come down the wicket, give himself that room to open up the offside boundary.
Worked into the leg side this time. We see that more and more often, particularly in T20 cricket. The batsman not afraid to either give themselves acres of room outside the leg stump, or in fact put both their pads in front of their stumps fully. You wouldn't have seen that back in your day, Peter.
No, you don't get the pitches. You get more pitches these days that you can trust the bounce. You can trust consistent bounce. You know that if it's coming on a certain length and you miss it, the ball's every chance it's going to bounce over the stumps.
Edged and taken. We spoke about Fionn Hand's effect on this Munster team. He's going to celebrate again. Brilliant from the man who's had such an impact on this Munster side. And he's picked up the biggest scalp there is in the Leinster Lightning batting lineup. George Dockrell, caught behind by PJ Moore.
Yeah, that's a great delivery. He's gone slightly wide in the crease, angled it into George. George has hung his bat out there slightly, and it's caught the edge straight through to PJ Moore. This is a fantastic start. 3 big scalps for Leinster back in the hutch. Munster Reds must be buoyant. Simi Singh's really keeping the team afloat here.
Fionn Hand, what a man he is. We saw the Mullingar fans come in last week on Friday. I think they were all a little giddy making the trip up from the Midlands. The fact they could get some drinks going with the COVID restrictions being relaxed there at Pembroke. I've got a bit of news for you. You'll love this one, Peter. I know you're fond of following on social media. You're a bit of a lurker on social media on the Twitter. Look at this one. Get on to Twitter and type in @Fionn_Hand. I think this has been set up by the Mullingar boys who made the trip up. It's called the Fionn Hand Appreciation Society.
That's classic.
They're appreciating the great Hand Fionn. And that's his handle. And the president, Neil Swaby. They've got a treasurer, a committee, there's life members. And where are they located? Wherever Fionn Hand plays cricket. That's where they are. They love watching him. We need more people like Fionn in the game. Brilliant to see.
And I think the biggest news from the weekend is Mum's just glad he's got a proper haircut. His hair's out of his eyes a bit more. She was on the verge of, she told me, purchasing an Alice band to keep it out, but not required anymore, she said, thankfully.
Well, we were talking to Andrew Blair White about Mark Adair's hair. I'm going to have to ask his thoughts on Fionn Hand's hair. Lorcan Tucker in. Big appeal. That's jagged back sharply, but Tucker a long way down. Surely not going on to hit the stumps. Slip in place. Good captaincy from PJ Moore.
Absolutely. He's got a fantastic opportunity here. He's got 3 big wickets down already. He knows if he breaks this partnership, this is a crucial partnership. He's getting a lovely bit of shape there. He's coming quite wide. He's not afraid to angle the ball in, and then if it just holds that line, he's asking questions of the batsmen.
But for the second time, not just shape, that is markedly come in off the seam. Real seam movement after
he's
the
really
delivery.
Exploiting conditions here.
Down the leg side, probably looking for that miracle ball a little too hard. There's something about Fionn Hand though, isn't there? You talk about all-rounders and sort of iconic players who do all 3 formats equally. Fionn Hand would be right in that mix.
Yeah.
Gives 100% the whole time.
And again, another guy who's making use of an opportunity of a move of province. That Leinster Lightning team over the last few years, very difficult to break through. It's almost like breaking into the international team for some of the guys that are looking to get the most out of these festivals.
6 overs gone, the end of the power play. It's 45 for 3. Let's just talk a little bit about that, because I think everyone within Irish cricket agrees with the decision to expand the interpros and to move the players around a bit. But do you have to feel for the Leinster Lightning a bit? Like, let's talk about some of the names that they're missing that could have been playing for them. Stephen Doheney up at the Northwest Warriors, Harry Tector at the Northern Knights, Ben White at the Northern Knights, a huge number of this Munster Reds side, Gareth Delaney, Curtis Campher, Tyrone Kane. You spoke about Josh Little there, both the Ford brothers. Like, that's a huge number of players for the Lightning to lose and try and replace.
Yeah, but at the same time, Stephen Donny's getting up in the bat and keeping wicket for the Northwest. Would he replace? Would he move Kevin O'Brien or Simi Singh out of that top two? You know, it's very difficult to see if that would have happened. So you're spreading this dearth of talent around, or this wealth of talent around.
You don't want to say dearth of talent.
No,
Peter.
well,
What are you
yeah.
doing to me? Upsetting me here next to me.
There was talk. I know there's talk over the last few years about possibly a Leinster B team or a Fingal 11, and there's been a few shouts out for that. But you know, they had a wealth of talent at their disposal, and some of those guys weren't getting the opportunities that they deserved. Fionn Hans moved south. He's got a fantastic opportunity here with Munster Reds. As you say, he's proved a bit of a talisman, and that can't be anything other than good for Irish cricket, which is looking at the bigger picture. I know Leinster are missing quite a few names that they could have called upon, but you know, the greater good.
Mark and Tucker looking to run that down to third man. Only comes off the under edge through to PJ Moore. You're giving your hand away again here, Peter. I said you lurk on social media. If you think there's calls for the Fingal 11, you're definitely lurking on social media. We've seen those all right the way across Twitter.
You got to keep in touch with what's going on. You know, I see him commentating for the microphone.
Yeah, great to have your thoughts throughout this weekend, Peter. Driven through the offside. That's a good shot. Protection out now, of course. Fielders allowed outside the circle. 5 of those. You're still playing yourself and still contributing to Strabane?
Yeah, still enjoying. Taking a step back from senior cricket, playing seconds cricket along with my brothers, which is good to get back to where it all began, the street. Doing a bit of coaching as well. So, no, it's all enjoyable. Still love the game.
Probably too wide outside the off stump it is. It'll be signalled wide by standing umpire Mark Hawthorne.
But it's strange to hear you say, you know, about the spread of talent and how Leinster have been affected. Obviously, you've got your Leinster hat on. A lot of the other provinces like Munster and North West were afraid that they would lose identity with people coming in from outside the union, and how that would relate to the supporters.
But I think the key point you've made there very passionately earlier in the over is the most important one. It's getting us closer towards a best v best scenario, is it not?
Absolutely, and I fully support it. I think no matter who pulls on a Northwest Warriors jersey or who pulls on a Leinster Lightning jersey, you're going to support your team, and you want to see the best players playing and getting the best opportunities.
Carty really losing his radar here. 3 consecutive wides signalled outside the off stump. It was interesting to see that. I thought we might see spin brought into the game early by the Reds, but no sign yet of the left arm spin of Mike Frost.
He's a real old-fashioned seam bowler. Really bends the back. There's a lot out of his action.
A big tall Marion CC all-rounder, of course, initially went down to the Reds on loan from the Leinster Lightning. Beat Singh through to the keeper this time. Hard to know what the Lightning will be targeting at this stage of the innings. Wasp has disappeared off our screens for a bit. We'll see him come back, but you'd like to think they'll need at least 150, won't they?
Yeah, well, and that proved from the first match. We thought 160 was a very good total, and it proved to be just enough.
Hit into the leg side. Very agricultural from Singh, but very effective. The reason it looks a bit agricultural, he's targeting that shorter boundary. Runs up along the ground next to that beautiful white BMW. What about that moment of magic from Roy Tarran's grandson? We'll have a look at the shot first. Singh heaves it into the leg side. Was talking to him there. He saved the Range Rover. He was sitting in the driver's seat, saw it coming towards the windscreen. I think his mum was in the passenger seat, and he's jumped out and saved it from a certain smash.
Yeah, I think the only thing Roy would have been worried about him saving from was his glass of grouse, which I hope he's enjoying up above us. But the Land Rover will do for today.
Yeah, I need to ask you about Roy Tarrans, because first time I've spoken to you as we get to the end of the 7th over, the score 55 for 3. Real tragedy, such sadness, losing Roy over the winter.
Yeah, he left such an impact on everyone who came into contact with him. I knew him in various guises. I knew him as a Northwest supporter. I knew him as a Northwest selector when I first came into the Ireland team, and then he became the Ireland manager. And every time I came across him, he was nothing other than a gentleman. Great company to be in. And I mean, the stories that everyone has told since his passing are legendary and true. And like Roy, some good embellishments there.
Yeah, I'd like to pay tribute. We always speak so fondly of Roy, everyone in Irish cricket does, but the way you're going to pay tribute later in the summer, tell us about this charity match, Ireland Legendary 11. I think it's against the Brigade 11, isn't it?
Yeah, Roy. It was originally Roy's baby to celebrate the Brigade centenary, and unfortunately, since his passing, has turned into somewhat of a memorial match, sadly. But it's still a chance for a lot of guys who he meant a lot to honour him in their own way, playing cricket.
And everyone who plays for the Irish 11 is going to have played at least 100 times or more for their country. You see left arm spin for the first time, Mike Frost into the attack.
Yeah, absolutely. It's. I mean, the lineup speaks for itself. I feel a bit embarrassed, but being in the change room with some of those guys, but such as.
Who are you most looking forward to playing with again?
I always enjoyed my time with the Moonies. Can't see past. I can't see. I was very, very good friends with Paul. Spoke to him recently. Can't see past playing with Paul. Kyle and Whitey, we had a long journey together. Ed for a while. Looking forward to seeing some of the new guys, which I didn't have a lot of contact with. George, Balbo. I'll throw in a few names. William played a lot of cricket. Like, I've seen a lot of those guys come in. I was there when Kevin made his debut. I was there when William made his debut. It was great to see how those guys have evolved.
Speared into the pads and just down the leg side. Doesn't make any contact with Singh's pad. And PJ Moore, a little surprised to see that given as a wide. Yeah, it almost feels like a cross-generational team, even though there's legendary names right the way throughout. It's brilliant to see the current players insisted upon playing as well.
Yeah, and that speaks volumes for Roy. And it all goes back to Roy. It all goes back to his impact. For me, he was just a great person. For a lot of the younger guys, he was a father figure. So everybody has their own Roy story and their own meaning behind.
And if you want to hear some of those Roy Torrance stories, I'd ask you to go and get that book, Uphill and Into the Wind, Big Roy, His Life in Cricket, written and compiled by his friends and presented with the compliments of the Cricket Writers of Ireland 2021. It's a lovely production, that.
Absolutely, it was a pleasure to read. It's one of those books that makes you laugh, makes you cry. It's got all sorts in there, and that was Roy in a nutshell.
I think one of my favourite pages was Roy's top victims, as it listed out all the legendary batsmen that he got out, including Viv Richards, of course, Isaac Vivian, Alexander Richards. We're going to have a change in the commentary box. We'll leave Peter with those lovely thoughts of Roy Torrance. I'll stay with you, and I'll have Andrew Blair White come in and join me. After 8 overs, score 58 for 3. Andrew, the recent worries for the Leinster Lightning showing no sign of easing right here.
No, not at all. Been very impressed with some of the bowling on show from the Munster Reds. Obviously, Kevin O'Brien just a little bit out of form at the moment, and a few good catches, very good catch at third man to get rid of Andy Balbirnie's second delivery, and sometimes those sort of catches and moments can change games, especially in 2020 cricket. So the Reds will be happy with where they are, but a couple more wickets now and they could really get into it.
Your initial instinct on that O'Brien LBW decision, you were quite close to behind the bowler there.
Yeah, it was a hard one. Like, it might have been just sliding maybe.
Fionn back into the attack. He's found the outside edge of Lorcan Tucker, and it's not going to carry to third man. I think he lost it in the flight a little bit. Matt Ford down there, he was certainly right back on the rope. I think that might have been a chance.
Yeah, potentially so. It's almost held up in the wind and gone away from him late on. It'd be interesting to look at the replay. Yeah, I think the wind has somewhat taken it because he's gone offline there. But Lorcan Tucker gets a life there on one.
Changing ends. That's hit really strongly by Simi Singh. He doesn't look as natural to him when he goes into the leg side. It certainly looks a little more agricultural and across the line. That was the only way I could describe it earlier, but it's effective. 4 more.
Yeah, and he's taken a good liking to Fionn Hand between last week when he hit him for 22 and an over. He hit him for a few boundaries in Hand's first over as well.
Slower ball, good change up. I think that's the leg cutter from Fionn Hand. Hand will be up for the fight. He loves a tussle. What about that Fionn Hand Appreciation Society on Twitter? You enjoy that one, Andrew?
Yeah, well, they followed me, so of course I enjoyed it.
I'm not sure I've got the nod yet. I need to check my Twitter. Come on, guys, if you're listening on.
It was certainly very good fun. Those Mullingar guys were in cracking form last week.
Hit down towards long off. Is this going to be a chance for Aaron Coley? It is a simple catch. Lorcan Tucker had just survived a chance. Fionn Hand keeps doing what he's doing. He can't stop taking wickets. He can't stop celebrating. He's involved in every aspect of the play. More wickets for him. The Lightning are in trouble.
Yeah, they are. Lorcan Tucker trying to hit that one straight. We've seen a fair few straight sixes, but he got it nowhere near the middle of the bat. Easy regulation catch for Aaron Coley at long off, and the Munster Reds just keep chipping away here, and the Lightning are in trouble at 64 for 4.
Yeah, they're turning this table upside down. Remember, these are the reigning champions, the Leinster Lightning, and they've been so reliant upon Simi Singh and George Dockrell with the bat and ball in all aspects, not just the 50 over, the T20, of course. McCarthy as well with the ball in the 50 over stuff. But big questions to answer. Jamie Grassi in at number 6. This is third versus fourth in the table at the moment. If the Munster Reds win today, Leinster Lightning will be going to an unprecedented bottom of the table. They've never experienced that before in any of the 3 formats, I don't believe. Shows just how competitive these Interpros are.
It is, and I think the Munster Reds can be very happy with their work done here so far this afternoon. I think it's just a case, probably against a team like the Leinster Lightning, are really putting the pressure on now. They've got the upper hand. They can't let it slip. We've seen the Leinster Lightning, usually with somebody like Simi Singh, get out of these situations before.
That's that change up from Fionn Hand. He's clearly recognised that if he goes full pace to Singh's probably going to either try and dance down the track and hit him over the offside or scutch it into the leg side. That's the leg cutter again. Good execution. Results in a dot ball. Can he get out of the over? One delivery remain. Goes full pace. Maybe he should have gone with a slower ball as well. That's heaved all the way for 6. The horns are blaring. Not blaring as loud as they were for William McClintock earlier, but there's a few Simi Singh's fans in the crowd. The Leinster Lightning need these runs. The first 6 of the innings.
Yeah, super shot from Simi Singh, just flicking away. You can see there he's taken that off stump and timed it absolutely supremely to that short boundary. Fionn Hand just straying ever so slightly onto the pads. But excellent from Singh. He's been the mainstay of this inning so far.
5 bowlers used so far for the Munster Reds. Be interesting to see, do we see any of their additional options brought in? Who else is it possible that we might see bowling for the Reds, Andrew?
You'd have to think Matt Ford's probably the other option with his off breaks. In terms of obvious options that we've seen so far.
Is it just the different conditions today why we didn't see him open the bowling for the Reds today with his off breaks?
I'd say so. They wanted to bowl the seamers.
He comes down the track. Very first delivery from Frost. Bowled a very good first over. Took a little bit of tap at points last weekend, but good to see the Reds backing their spinner. His brother Alistair into the team today for the first time into the Leinster Lightning. 2 Malahide CC teammates and lovely cap presentation before. Feel like a really tight-knit unit, Munster. Well led by Tyrone Kane now in his absence by PJ Moore and Murray Cummins as vice captain, I believe. That looks like it's going to be the 5th wicket. Jamie Grassi is not a happy man. You could see he almost hit the ground in frustration. He knew as soon as he attempted the pull shot, it came off the top edge. Didn't look comfortable at the crease. Came down the pitch the first ball. This time he goes back looking for the pull, and he's gone.
Yeah, you'd have to say deserved wicket for Mike Frost. He's looked super, actually, in his first over. He caused problems to Simi Singh and Lorcan Tucker. Grassi trying to take an aggressive option there, but then kind of almost cut out of the shot and has ended up just hitting one straight in the air to Josh Manley. And the Lightning really now in trouble now at 70 for 5.
They're reeling. The reigning champions are not just in trouble, they're in huge trouble. And it's not just today, it's their season. They did win the IP20. They just about got over the line up here in the northwest. A really impressive win. Going to see Tim Tector in at number 7, the 17-year-old, as his father Heatley keeps reminding me. Come on, Cricinfo, time to update his profile. Stop making him older than he is, says he's 18 on Cricinfo. But yeah, he comes to the crease, no number on his back, under big pressure. Simi Singh must be standing there going, what on earth is happening?
Yeah, certainly he's been through plenty of partners today. And you'll be glad to know, Lenny, that Tim's 18th birthday is the 3rd of July, so it's not going to be too long before that Cricinfo having him down as 18 years old will be correct.
Gives me another 8 days to get it wrong 4 or 5 more times, no doubt. Frost has been impressive today. He was marked out as the one to watch in the Reds last week in our pre-tournament preview. Didn't have the best of weekends, but he's finding the conditions up in the northwest to his liking. He certainly isn't a big turner of the ball, he's just a real darts sort of bowler.
Yeah, exactly. You've got a little bit of future slightly grip in that first over, which just gives a bit of doubt to a batter.
Tector's going to get off the mark. Singh calls him through for the quick single. Simi Singh, it's a real one-man stand here. That is not David O'Halloran at the crease. We'll get that corrected. It is Tim Tector. Simi Singh 44 not out off 26. He's scored the lion's share of Lightning's runs so far. And you can see immediately big change in the field. So all the fielders going out. 5 fielders in the deep. Deep backward square leg. Cow corner. Long on, long off. And a deep extra cover. Singh just works it into the leg side for a single. In terms of the further batting to come, we'll probably see Rory Anders in at 8, and then Barry McCarthy and Josh Little combined effectively last week, but they shouldn't be the ones needing to score the runs for the Lightning, should they?
No, not at all. But Rory Anders has been opening the batting for YMCA this year so far. Certainly much better than a number 8 batter would suggest.
Nicely worked into the offside, good use of the crease, and a sort of slightly tumbling fall from Alistair Frost into the side today. We'll see him, sort of middle order batsman for Malahide. Again, just angled into the pad. Singh will be happy with that. Get it away for a couple, won't keep the strike, so Tector will be on strike. We get to the halfway stage of the first innings of Game 2 of the IP20 Festival. Leinster Lightning in trouble. It's 76 for 5.
Yeah, another good over from Mike Frost there. It's interesting, down in Pembroke last week he bowled some very tight overs and then some overs that really went the distance, so he's bowled 2 tight ones now. He'll be looking to make sure that this time round he can keep that going and potentially bowl a very tight 4-over spell. Fionn Hand going to continue from the pavilion end, and he's turned into a bit of a golden arm, Fionn Hand, over the last couple of weeks. Certainly everything he touches, there seems to be things happening. He's either hitting big 6s or interesting 4s, or he's taking wickets, taking catches. All seems to be happening.
Yeah, his stock has risen hugely in the last 10 days or so. Remember, the young man played quite a bit of cricket over in the UK, went over to Queen's College in Taunton, played a bit for the Somerset Seconds, and you've got to remember Fionn Hand, he was part of the MCC Young Cricketers, and then it was taken away from him by COVID, and you have to wonder how big an effect did that have on him. Back here on Irish soil, looks to be really enjoying his cricket down in the Reds, down in Munster.
Yeah, he seems to be loving it. He's really in good form. He's bowling with plenty of pace and plenty of rhythm. Seems to be finding a way to take wickets at this level.
Hit into the leg side. Could this be another one? It's dropped. What a moment in the match that is. The hands are on the heads from the Munster Reds. They know. Simi Singh's asking why isn't it a no ball. It was probably right around waist height. Might have just been dipping on him, but it's a simple catch, and Jack Cardy has put it down.
Yeah, it's a regulation catch for Jack Cardy. I don't know what Simi's complaining about. That wasn't a no ball in my book, that's for sure. Usually that's what happens when you know you've hit a poor enough shot. But he's got a life there on 47.
That is quite simply a massive moment, not just in the match but in the season for Leinster Lightning in this IP20. If Singh is caught there, can't see them really getting above 120, 130, 140, but it could not have picked out the man Jack Carty in the deep any better. It was hit with power. Perhaps that just surprised him a bit. Went in clean, but it's gone down. Slower ball again. Good skills from Fionn Hand.
Yeah, excellent from Fionn Hand. It wasn't a brilliant delivery by any means from him, but he'll feel a little bit aggrieved that he hasn't taken his third wicket. Tim Tector, he's actually an excellent young batter. Just needs to get through. Sometimes he can be a little bit frenetic early on in his innings. First 5 or 10 deliveries. Usually when he settles into an innings, we'll see some really good power hitting from him.
Good length from Hand, and Tector will just get it into the offside for a single. Frost attempting a spectacular run out, can't get it done.
Yeah, it's good batting from Tector. Just getting himself off strike, getting himself into his innings. At the moment, there's still plenty of time to bat, and I know it's a cliche saying, but there's still 55 deliveries left in this Leinster Lightning innings, and it seems to be all very frenetic at the moment. Wickets going down at regular intervals.
Worked into the leg side by Singh again. I think Hand looking for the block hole. That one a much lower full toss, always difficult to get away. 4 singles from the over, but critically, Simi Singh has been put down.
Yeah, and that, as you referred to, Andrew, that could be a massive moment in the context of this game. So Simi Singh continues on to score a big innings here, score 70 or 80. It could well be the winning of the game for the Leinster Lightning. Jack Carty will be hoping upon hope that mistake, that drop, isn't going to be punished.
Frost to continue, and don't mind this. Just Reds keeping it simple as Singh gets to 50. That 50 coming from 31 deliveries. Really good knock. He's had the life, and he's going to try to take advantage of it now. Can he kick on? We've seen nobody go past 54 in the IP20s. Can Singh do it?
I'd like to hope so, although it does seem to be a bit of a curse at the moment. These people getting to 50 and out, but it's been an excellent innings from Simi Singh. Some lovely shots in there for his 50. And for the Leinster Lightning, not only will he want to do it individually, but the Leinster Lightning need him to go on to a big score.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I like the Reds just keeping things very simple here. Frost is bowling well. There's a new batsman at the crease in the shape of Tector. No need to change things. Some of the bowling changes, they almost get schizophrenic at times in T20 cricket from captains, changing things for the sake of it at points.
Yeah, potentially you almost try to become too cute, and you almost end up confusing your own self rather than anything else. But also good to see that they brought the fifth man into the ring there for Tector as well, really trying to cut off his options.
Really like that from Frost. Seeing feigning outside the leg stump, looking to show whether he was going to go for a ramp or a switch hit. Frost goes slower and slower and flights it up. And says, if you're going to do that, Singh, I don't mind, I'll toss it up. Just worked into the leg side for a single. Good brave stuff from the young left arm spinner from Malahide. Quicker this time, he says hit it. He wants it to roll back onto the stumps. Doesn't quite. Tector survives.
Yeah, really good changes of pace here from Frost. It's been an excellent spell so far. If you're looking to get ahead of his third over now, we see that fifth man that I alluded to being in the ring now, being pushed back to deep mid wicket. That's clever captaincy. Last ball of the over.
Cut away by Tector. That means he'll keep the strike. So 12 overs gone. It's exactly 7 and over at the moment. It's 84 for 5.
Very hard to know. If you were in the Leinster Lightning camp now, Andrew, what would you be hoping for, really?
Well, I think it's a Leinster Lightning camp that, to be honest, is rattled. They've become so accustomed to winning. They've got a culture of dominating this interprovincial series in all 3 formats, really. Remember, this is the 9th edition of the IP20. They've won 6 of them. Already won the IP50 crown this season. They are not used to losing matches. We're going to see the debutant given a chance with the ball, and something that a little bit of a surprise to us. Hasn't bowled a huge amount even in club cricket. Alistair Frost on debut. He's going to bowl in tandem with his brother. Come in from the pavilion end with some right arm medium. Starts nicely. The call from Tector is to push him, but I think Singh will be happy to take the strike and face the new bowler. Yeah, the inside info I have, he's a batter who very much bowls seam part-time, a developing player.
Yeah, when I was out at the toss, PJ Moore was alluding to an extra seamer, and I must say when I looked at the team sheet at first, I couldn't see the extra seamer, but this is obviously who he was referring to. Alistair Frost, I haven't seen too much of him myself.
Yeah, perhaps the Reds just thinking they can squeeze in a bonus over here. It's too early for Singh to really go all out in terms of attack. Carty's had his problems with the ball, so the Reds just not afraid to mix it up to go to their young debutant.
Yeah, exactly. They need to find 2 overs from somewhere, you'd have to think.
Still no Matt Ford though, surprisingly.
Yeah, well, they've obviously just taken the approach that seems going to be better on this pitch. We saw spin, rewarded to varying degrees in the first game, and Mike Frost has bowled very well so far in this game, but they're obviously not overly keen to use Ford and would prefer to go for that seam bowling option.
Yeah, not for the first time today. We see Singh going down to his partner, offering some advice. The advice didn't work for Grassi. Of course, he was dismissed the next delivery. Tector manages to get off strike. Just trying to counsel his young teammates. Do you think the Leinster Lightning camp is a bit rattled at the moment?
I think so. I think it's probably a transitional phase for the side. There's a few that have been in there for a long old time at this stage, and then some very young new faces, and I think it's taken time to gel.
Hit away over the offside, but just going to be a single. Lightning can't get any momentum going. I know we've said it a few times on commentary, but we have to remind you, this is a Munster Reds team shorn of Gareth Delaney, Curtis Camphor and Tyrone Kane, and in a T20 context, that's almost 12 guaranteed overs, and probably the guys who are going to one open the batting, another bat 4 and another bat 5. How are they competing? How are they doing it?
Yeah, well, I think it just goes to show what sort of team spirit they have in the locker at the moment. The Reds have been so impressed both in the 50 over format and in these T20 festivals, just how together they are. They seem to really fight hard as a team. They're never out of games. As we see here, there's almost a run out situation. Alistair Frost and Simi Singh both ending up belly first on the ground, but all's well that ends well for Simi Singh as he rolls onto his back. Another single got for Tim Tector.
I'm not sure Simi Singh was too happy with Tim Tector there. A, pinching the strike off the final ball of the over, but B, such a quick single that Singh had to sprint and dive just to ensure that he kept his wicket intact. Singh 53 from 34. Frost is going to bowl his 4 overs right the way through. Don't see that too often these days in T20 cricket, but he's got 1 for 12. Why wouldn't he continue? Slower through the air again. No clean pickup from Ford will allow them to get through for the single. He's varied his pace really, really nicely.
He has, and don't you think, Andrew, potentially it's something that isn't used enough in T20 cricket, actually, when a bowler, especially a spinner's bowling well, they actually just bowl him through for his 4 overs. We've seen so many changes.
Yeah, well, I think both the Knights and the Warriors perhaps a little guilty of that. But you can see there's a real brains trust in that Warriors side. You've got Andy McBride, the captain, William Porterfield, the ex-Irish captain, and Gary Wilson, the ex-Irish T20 captain, as the head coach. They were talking every single over. Who's going to bowl the next one? Who's going to bowl 17? Who's going to bowl 18? Who's going to bowl 19? And that's going to be yet another wicket for the Reds. Tector did not get going at all, so many of the Leinster Lightning batsmen have. In fact, none of them have got going, with the exception of Simi Singh. A really soft, tame dismissal bowled into the wicket. Clever bowling. Frost saw him coming down the track. Tector didn't adjust well. He ends up just chipping a simple catch back to Frost, and he falls for 10.
Yeah, an innings that just never got going and never got really started for Tim Tector, departing for 10 from 16. And very good bowling from Mike Frost. And as we've said there, very good captaincy from PJ Moore, keeping his spinner on for his full 4-over spell. He's 2 for 14 in the middle of his last over, and he's bowled superbly on this deck.
Not going to be Rory Anders in at number 8 for the Lightning. It's going to be big Barry McCarthy. Seen him use the long handle quite effectively for the Lightning quite a bit this year. He's going to be entrusted with the number 8 role. We'll probably see Anders at 9, maybe Josh Little at 10. David Halloran will be legs 11. Simi Singh 53 not out. Just taking a look through the high scores of the season. And the IP20, quite remarkable reading really, Andrew, isn't it? 54 for Doheny, 54 for McClintock today, 53 not out for Singh. They now moved to 54 not out as well. So the joint highest score. Then 52 for Porterfield, 51 apiece for Cummins, Tucker and Georgeson, 49 for Moore, 48 for Dockrell and McCollum, 45 today for Rock. So many scores in between that 41 and 54. Is Singh going to break the curse and move into the 60s, 70s, 80s maybe?
Well, even if he moves into the 55s, he'll have broken the curse. But he's going to have to now. There's an awful lot of responsibility on his shoulders. It would be interesting to see how Barry McCarthy approaches this innings, because does he go and counter-attack? He is known for his big power hitting.
I think he'll just be looking to survive. Mike Frost, not too often you say that in a T20, just take the 3 dots, but I think he'll just let him close out his spell. He's got the levers and the power to target that shorter boundary, the leg side from the other end of the ground, and he'll much prefer it when the pace is on the ball. I think it's survival only here for McCarthy. 1 delivery left of Frost's spell. That's all he's going to do. 3 dots played out. Not too often you see that. Probably the right tactic though. 14 overs gone. A wonderful spell of left arm spin bowling from Mike Frost. He's catapulted himself into the player of the match conversation. I'm going to go away and have a think about that. I'll pass you over to Peter Gillespie, who will join you, Andrew Blair-White.
Yeah, you can see there Mike Frost figures 2 for 14 from his 4 overs. What a magnificent spell of left arm off spin bowling from Mike Frost, and has put Munster really in the driving seat here with the Leinster Lightning 91 for 6. As I welcome Peter Gillespie back, and I don't think many people would have been expecting the Leinster Lightning to be in this amount of trouble after 14 overs.
No, but they are, and they've got to find a way to get to a competitive score. A competitive score. It was a superb spell. Really turned the screw, backing up what the Seamers had done early on, and it's left Leinster Lightning in the precarious position that they're in now. And fair play to Simi Singh, he's managed to just continue playing the way he's been playing, even as wickets has fallen all around him. It's so easy to retreat into your shell.
Well, that's a big shot from Simi Singh. It could hit the bus. Oh, it's just missed the bus. That was going by one of the team buses. Simi Singh has powered that one in to the deep mid-wicket range. It's just a length ball from Alistair Frost in the slot for Singh, and an excellent shot.
Yeah, he's just continuing to play the way he's been playing. He's just taken the game situation out of the equation in his head. He feels in form. He feels that he's seeing the ball, so he's just going to play 2020 cricket.
Singh just turns that one away. One thing the Lightning won't be too impressed with is that we're in the middle of the 15th over, 86 legal deliveries, and Singh's only faced 37 of them. So not only have all of his partners, perished, but they've also actually, in essence, hogged most of the strike from Singh as well.
Yeah, they've starved him slightly, so that's made it more impressive that he has produced 61 off 37 when he has gone on strike. He looks to be the person that's really adapted to conditions the best. And you've got to think now, what is going to be competitive? What's realistic? They're going to 6.8, 5 overs remaining. You're possibly, best case scenario, you're hoping 130, 140, maybe if Simi keeps going more.
McCarthy's cleaned that one down the ground, straight down. Aaron Cawley's throwed it long off though, and a first wicket in the colours of the Munster Reds for Ali Frost. Barry McCarthy going for the big shot down the ground, and yet another man perishes for the Lightning. 99 for 7. Excellent catch from Aaron Cawley running on the long off boundary.
Yeah, you can't help but feel that Leinster are the victims of their own downfall here, Andrew. They're continuing to try and play positive cricket. It's not coming off for them, bar Simi Singh. 99 for 7. It doesn't look like where they want to be, or anywhere near where they want to be. They're going to find it difficult from here.
You have to think, to a certain extent, people have got to come in and try and play the situation, get Singh on strike, just try to keep things ticking over. Having a look at that scorecard, unfortunately it doesn't make for too pleasant reading if you're a Leinster Lightning fan, unless you're a big Simi Singh fan, who's been absolutely superb. Just Tim Tector getting into double figures. In fact, Ernie Extras is there with 12 ahead of him, so it just hasn't got going at the other end. Rory Anders is coming in here with a serious job to do, because there's still 33 deliveries left in this innings.
Yeah, not a substantial partnership in any shape or form for Leinster. Every couple of 20s, every time they've looked like getting going, they've given their wicket away, you feel, at times. That was a missed opportunity as well. Slight bobble just took it out of his hands. They're certainly living on the edge.
Yeah, well, there's a yes-no there from Rory Anders, but gets through in the end and brings up the Lightning's 100 in the process. As you said just before that dismissal, Peter, look, they've got to try and get up to around 130, 140, give them something to try and defend. Frost strays down the leg side this time for a wide.
They've certainly got the skill set and within their bowling attack to defend that, but it's getting there at the moment. You know, the batsmen aren't helping. The batsmen aren't helping the bowlers, and you're into the bowlers now, bar Simi. So someone other than Simi's got to put their hand up here for these last 5 overs and realise that there's 30 balls. There's a lot of scoring to be done in 30 balls.
And now Singh departs, and you have to think, is that going to be the end of what's already been a poor enough innings from the Leinster Lightning? Simi Singh, the one bright spark, but he's tried to hit this one over deep mid-wicket yet again and has dragged it back onto his own stumps. He departs for 61.
Yeah, he's targeted that short boundary again, and despite ploughing a lone furrow, he's perished trying to do what he has been doing for the majority of his innings, trying to be positive, trying to attack, but not successfully on this occasion. And it really is a dire read for the Leinster Lightning fans. 101 for 8 off 15. They're going to have some work to do now. How you feel, Andrew?
Yes, you'd have to think it's going to take something extraordinary from Rory Anders and Josh Diddle and Davy O'Halloran in at number 11 to get themselves up to any type of score here. And it's good captaincy, I think this is, from PJ Moore. He's bringing Josh Manley, his premier seam bowler, back into the attack. He's sniffing blood and trying to get this Leinster Lightning innings finished off as quickly as possible. Don't let them get up to 120, 130 from here. Try to get them all out for around 105, 110.
Absolutely. There's nothing better as a captain that you can ask your bowlers to do the job that they've been set, the fielders to back it up. Munster have absolutely stood up today and really put it up to Leinster, and they've been found wanting. And as you say, he snuffs blood now, and quite rightly. He's got his premier fast bowler back into the game. If he can wrap this innings up very quickly here, they'll be more than happy with this.
Clipping one off his pads, as I mentioned on commentary with Andrew. He's actually been opening the batting for YMCA this year. Rory Anders, he's a very good batter, but he's got a job on here. If Leinster are to get anywhere near that 130, 140 mark, It's not insurmountable. We saw in the first the first game, runs being scored late on, but that wickets column is fairly frightening for the Leinster Lightning.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think what the two batsmen, what Anders and Little have to realise now is they have 20 odd balls. They have to make use of every one of them. They can't go off the ground here leaving anything short. There's no point in trying to target boundaries at this stage if it's not in your game plan. If you need to just take a run of ball for a while and just build on up as far as you can to a total, then do it. Get as close to 20 overs as you can.
Stifled appeal there from Josh Manley, probably just drifting down the leg side on that occasion. But yeah, no, they've got to play the situation here. They've got to make sure that they're not 110 all out with still 15-20 balls left to go in the innings.
Absolutely. They have the skill set within the bowlers to put Munster under pressure when it's their turn to bat, but they just need to make sure they use every delivery they can. That's a great delivery. Lovely away sheep there. Manley coming in, using the breeze that's going across the ground. He's doing a great job for a skipper so far.
Yeah, I've been very impressed with Josh Manley throughout this season, both in the 50 and 20 over format. Runs in hard, gets that good movement as you alluded to there, away from the right-hander. These sort of conditions will help with that wind on its way as well.
This was a surprise short ball there for Rory Anders. He wasn't expecting that. He was slightly planted on the front foot. He's taken it back.
Yeah, it's good bowling this from Manley, just mixing things up to Rory Anders, not making him feel settled whatsoever.
Intelligent bowling. It's been the hallmark of this inning so far.
Clipped away by Rory Anderson. You get 2 for that. It's another goal over for the Munster Reds. Just the 4 runs coming from it. Anders moves to 4. Leinster Lightning 105 for 8 after 16 overs.
Not the ideal position they want to be in, Andrew, but such it is. They still have 24 balls. Still a lot they can make of it. And I think these guys have just got to get some cricket smarts on now and see what they need to do, what they can do, and try in some way to get Leinster Lightning up to a total that they can work with. Certainly not there at the moment. Still a lot of work to do. But I'm impressed by how PJ Moore's marshalled his trips throughout this inning so far.
It'd be hard not to be. And again, good captaincy this, bringing back his opening bowlers. Manley the previous over now. Aaron Cawley coming back in from the pavilion end. Bowled superbly with the new ball in his hand down in Pembroke last week. Gets good movement back into the right-handers, and as I said in the previous over, PJ Moore just wants this innings done and dusted. Just make sure that the Lightning don't get anything in this last couple of overs. This little clips that one out to deep square, not in full control. Gets a single.
Any which way they can. Even if it's a sandwich into no man's land, we'll take it.
The exact same sandwich used from Rory Anders to get that one out. It's into that vacant area between mid-wicket, who's in the ring, and deep square leg, who's back on the rope, just in front of square.
Definitely substanced over style here. But they all count. They all go onto the board.
don't think Nigel Jones and the Leinster Lightning team will really matter where any sort of runs come from. A Chinese cut for 4 will do at the moment. If it was to yield them a boundary, it's been a few over since they last hit a boundary, and just been plenty of dot balls in this innings. It just hasn't seemed, a bar, as we've mentioned a few times, Simi Singh, bar that, there just has been no momentum.
No, and Leinster, although Leinster have contributed to that, the Munster Reds have really put them under pressure from the start. Get off to a bit of a start with Simi and Kevin, but since then it's just been a procession. He's just slipped down there, and Ernie takes another hit. As you say there, he's probably moved into second top scorer now for Leinster.
I think he is. I think he's on to 13 now, which is never a good sign as a batting unit. They'll know, they'll be disappointed with it. Again, Corley just ever so slightly straying a little bit too much onto the legs. Little clipping that one away for 1 again. Can be a theme almost when you do bring that ball back into the right hander. You can sometimes get a bit greedy then and start pushing it down onto the pads.
Yeah, and that stiff breeze going across the ground as well. You know, you really have to say, where can you adjust your line? How far do you take it outside off? You don't want to give them too much width.
Oh, what a catch! What a catch from Fionn Hand. He's in it again. And Aaron Corley gets his first wicket of the day. Rory Anders has pumped a low full toss to extra cover, and Fionn Hand has soared like Superman to his left here and taken an excellent grab at extra cover. Not for the first time this year, Fionn Hand is going to be all over Twitter with another excellent catch.
I think the Appreciation Society is going to go up a few members there. It was a great pluck. Aaron Corley once again angling the ball in. He got quite a bit on it, Rory Anders. Came off the middle of the bat, went pretty quick, but Fionn Hand was up to the task and pulled off a spectacular catch. More pressure piles on the Leinster Lightning.
Yeah, well, when you're number 10 and number 11 are at the crease with still 19 deliveries left in a T20 innings, it usually hasn't gone great.
That speaks volumes. And I have to give credit. I know I spoke about Leinster being, to a certain extent, masters of their own downfall, but you have to give credit to the Munster Reds and the pressure that they've put on. They've bowled the ball in the right areas. I think this is, this was the match we thought maybe at the start of the morning, when conditions we thought favoured bowling, that could possibly have taken place. They've certainly used conditions to their advantage. Really taking their time setting the field. They're going for the kill.
Just flicked the pad on the way through to PJ Moore there, finishing off Aaron Corley's third over. 17 gone. The Leinster Lightning 109 for 9.
Yeah, absolutely not the position they would want to be in. I think they'd be very disappointed, Wasp, predicting 118. That'd be well below what they would envisage to be a power score in this.
Yeah.
As the scorecard there alludes to. Takes Simi Singh 61 off 38 out of that, and Ernie Extras is next on 14. Tim Tactor, the only other player to get into double figures, and that was off 16 balls. It's been a real struggle for the Lightning here.
Josh Little driving down to long off for 1 there, bringing Davy O'Halloran on strike in this side, definitely for his bowling. Davy O'Halloran,
You'll have to advise me on his batting prowess Andrew, I'm not up to speed with.
Well, I played against Davey an awful lot when I was younger. He's actually a very good youth batter, but at this level it is a completely different kettle of fish. And Josh Manley's going to make him know about it as well. Sticks one up his nose, first delivery.
Yeah, he's not going to allow him to come and plant that front foot and take a swing. He's letting him know I'm the man. I'm the fast bowler here this time.
Yeah, no bowlers union intact anymore.
No.
Halloran's actually done very well to get out of the way of that.
Yeah, he's got a pretty impressive bouncer. He really targets the batsman in the right area.
Slower this time from Manley. Good change up. You feel it's just a case of trying to survive here for O'Halloran. Whether it was maybe the right call. Josh Little taking the single off the first ball. With the lack of runs on the board, you feel dubious not taking runs.
Yeah, I think the damage was done a long time ago, Andrew, so you just take whatever you can get now. Singles or whatever.
Ball from Manley, really good this time. The block hole Yorker. O'Halloran again, just extremely well to keep that one out, but it's been very good from Manley. The bouncer first up to O'Halloran, then a slower ball, and now the one in the block hole. Very little to really get your hands through or even to get a single from.
No, and it's been symptomatic of the innings so far. I'm very impressed with the Munster red bowling attack. They really stood up and asked questions of Leinster and been found wanting.
It does seem to be a case of O'Halloran just trying to get through this over. See whether Josh Little can do any damage at the other end.
Manley's been very impressive with this. He has that ability to mix up his lengths very well. He can go from short bouncer to the really full Yorker to the back of a length delivery. Then he varies his pace. Been very impressive, and his figures have reflected that so far.
Lovely shot from Davy O'Halloran to get off the mark, but he keeps the strike as a result. And it's Nelson for Leinster Lightning, 111 for 9, 2 overs to go. Can they even muster their way up to 120, 125 from here? Josh Manley, as you can see on your screens, they're 4 overs, 1 maiden, 2 for 15, including a double wicket maiden. He got Kevin O'Brien and Andy Balbirnie out. That will live long in his memory. A super spell in seam bowling from Munster's premier seam bowler.
Yeah, very impressive figures there. All round bar Jack Carty. It's a really impressive card there. I've been proud of the work that they've done so far. They wrapped up this innings now and get out of it as quickly as they can. I'll be very happy with this first half work.
It's a direct hit from short fine leg. I think he was home there. It's interesting, it just clipped O'Halloran's pad. It was actually a very good stop from PJ Moore behind the stump. Sometimes they fly away for 4. He's got a good hand on it, and Josh Manley's thrown the stumps down. But looking from that replay, I think Josh Little was well and truly home.
Yeah, Conley just straining his line there again. You don't want to be giving away any freebies at this stage, especially after you've done so much good work. It is the short side of the field, the leg side of these batsmen, so just want to be a little bit careful. And the fine leg's gone back as a result.
Yeah, great shot from Josh Little. It was a packed leg side field, 4 men back, long on, deep mid wicket, deep square and fine leg. It means people are up in the ring on the off side, and he's crashed it left of mid off. Mr. Frost can't get down to stop it this time round. Little gets a much needed boundary for the Lightning.
Conley just offered up a little bit of width there, and Josh Little's very, very happy to accept.
It doesn't seem like much, but these runs are all important in the context of this game.
Absolutely, and you can't take it for granted whether you're bowling to number 1 or number 11. These squads littered with batsmen that can put the ball to the boundary. If you stray, if you miss your line, you miss your length, even slightly. Aaron Cawley there had been angling it in the leg the previous few deliveries. He then moved fine leg back, over pitched and got punished.
Again onto O'Halloran's pads and doesn't get contact with him, but it's another leg by, and again the Leinster Lightning won't be too concerned what way they come.
Yeah, and the skipper comes to have a word just to reinforce the game plan, just to make sure they're all on the same page and know what they're trying to do. We're 7 off this over already, and there's 7 vital runs.
Yeah, fine leg comes back into the ring, mid off, goes back to long off. So we saw a little crash of boundary through that area earlier this over. Little does have a scoop in him. Whether we'll see that. Oh, it's burst through the gloves. That's going to be potentially 4 buys here. Yep, it is. Just took off on PJ Moore there, but it's burst through in the gloves. It's another 4 and brings Leinster over that 120 mark.
Yeah, actually got this spot on, but it's as you can see, it's taken PJ Moore by surprise. Connolly really hit the block hole length he wanted there. Little was backing away, trying to make some room, trying to get anything on it at all, and they end up, they get a freebie. And that was an expensive over.
It was an expensive over that I think they've gone one short on. Everyone seemed to have moved to their fielding positions for the final over, but there's still 1 ball to come. And Cawley is going to have to run back to his mark here to complete his over. And I've been hoping for less damage because there's been 11 runs from it. And 11 vital runs. If they got suddenly 11 runs off the final over as well, you're up over 130.
Missed opportunity there from Josh Little. He got the length that he wanted. A swing and a miss. Ends the 19th. And that was a welcome increase in the scoring there for Leinster. Bit of an angry delivery there from Aaron Cawley in the last ball. You can see there's a bit of extra put into that.
Yeah, well, I don't think he was happy that his over had gone for 11 up until that point, and also that he'd been called back to having to bowl an extra delivery. But a good spell nonetheless. 1 for 20 from his 4 overs, again impressing the man from Tipperary. It's been good to see him injury free this year. He's been absolutely riddled with injuries the past couple of years. Good to see him bowling with good pace, good rhythm. Fionn Hand into the attack for the final over. He's been all over this game yet again. Fionn Hand 2 for 26 from 3. He's going to bowl the last.
Little change of pace. And David O'Halloran's quite happy to get off strike. Give it over to his more senior partner, Josh Little. Gives him 5 balls to see what he can do.
Yeah, well, he's done the important thing, O'Halloran, in terms of occupying the crease and making sure that balls aren't going wasted here. Well, he's only 2 off 9, but there's been a few buys, a few leg buys while he's been there. All runs added to it. And that could be a no ball, and they're going to run through. And he's going to get back for 2. It's good running from O'Halloran. It's good from the Leinster Lightning. And they're just a little bit ragged here, the Munster Reds, and they're not closing this innings off.
No, not the way they were looking for a few overs ago. PJ Moore made the call to bring back his premier bowlers to try and close it out. And as you say, it's got a little bit ragged, and most importantly, Josh Little's got back on strike for the free hit, which I'm sure Leinster will be delighted at.
Yeah, I think he was quite keen to get back for that second run. He was a bit dubious to go off for the first run, actually, because he wanted to come back on strike so much. And And he's lifted one out to the leg side. It's a huge boundary out there. It's not going to make it to the boundary. But because how far it is and how much height he's got on it, Little's able to get back for 2. More important runs for the Lightning.
Vital runs. He's absolutely middled at on many a ground that would have sealed over for a maximum, but not today. But as you say, it's a free hit, so they get comfortably back for 2 very, very important runs.
It is an enormous boundary out there to deep mid-wicket. Clever from Little, making sure runs just keep ticking over, and we see now Leinster Lightning 129 for 9. I'd say 10-15 deliveries ago had 105 for 9. It didn't look like they were going to get to 110. It's a much different run chasing 130 than it is 110.
Very intelligent bowling there from Fionn Hand. He's realised these guys aren't going to take him over the offside with the short boundary with the wind, so he's just taking the pace off. He's just making sure that if they're going to hit him to the big side, they're not going to have much to work with. They're going to have to do all the hitting themselves.
Yeah, 2 deliveries left. Oh no, Halloran's clubbed it back, and Fionn Hand, for his standards, will be disappointed he's dropped that. But it's gone through, and it's 2 runs for the Leinster Lightning. It was a very, very tough chance for Fionn Hand, but with the form he's been in, you wouldn't have been surprised if he'd held on.
Yeah, he's absolutely middled at. It's one of those reaction catches that you say as a cricketer, they stick. No time to react at all, and he's actually done well to get a hand on it.
Yeah, final delivery. Lightning 131. O'Halloran on strike. On top ball from Josh Little, but it's a good shot from Davy O'Halloran. And they've got back for 2, and these are really, really important runs. Good from the Leinster Lightning, number 10 and 11. They've gotten themselves up to 133 for 9 from an unpromising position. Davy O'Halloran with 6, Josh Little with 14. Doesn't look like much on the face of things, but could well be game-changing.
Yeah, that was a 24-run partnership there, which I'm sure if we look at the partnerships throughout the innings, had to be one of the more productive. Vital runs for Leinster. How it pans out in the course of the match remains to be seen, but I'm sure the bowlers would be a little bit more comfortable having 130 to bowl at. And one stage we were looking at maybe 100. When these pair came together at 109, it looked all but over, and they could prove crucial. Time will tell.
Indeed, as the Munster Reds come off the pitch there, they'll overall be delighted with their efforts to keep the Leinster Lightning to 133 for 9. They'll be a little bit disappointed if they're being harsh on themselves that they've allowed them get 15-20 more runs than maybe they should have. As you were having a look there at the match summary, doesn't make for too pleasant reading for the Leinster Lightning, but it has given themselves something to bowl at. Simi Singh 61 from 38, absolutely superb from himself. Josh Little 14 not out at the end. They could be crucial runs. Tim Tector with 10, the next best in there. Mike Frost with the ball in hand for the Munster Reds, absolutely superb. 2 for 14 from his 4 overs, 2 for 15 from 4 for Josh Manley, also 2 wickets apiece for Ali Frost and Fionn Hand. Fionn Hand a little bit more expensive today, 2 for 37 from his 4, Frost 2 for 15 from his 2. The Munster Reds, who won the toss earlier this afternoon and elected to bowl. I think the Leinster Lightning could well be a few runs below par here at 133 for 9. But only time will tell. We had such an exciting game this morning, if you missed it, with the Northwest Warriors coming out on top from the Northern Knights by 1 run. But hopefully you stay with us during the break here. After an ad break, we're going to be joining Andrew Leonard for our new series of Beyond the Boundary. And after the ads, you'll see that.
time to embrace the giant spirit of Derry Londonderry. Visit discovernorthernireland.com.
Yeah, welcome to Beyond the Boundary, our regular series here in the intervals of the IP20 games. Andrew Leonard here again, and delighted to have one of my favourite people in Irish cricket over to my left, Peter Gillespie. Peter, great to hear your thoughts throughout the commentary. You enjoying being back in the booth with us?
Absolutely, always a pleasure, Lenny.
And the sunshine has come out right on cue. You always say it's sunny up here.
It always is sunny. You just have to stay long enough to see it.
I want to talk to you about all sorts of stuff, Peter. We've got about 10-15 minutes to have a chat. Let's start with the Interpros, the expanded format this year. You feel it's been a real success?
I do. I feel it's been a real benefit, and I think the bold decision that Cricket Ireland took to spread the talent pool out among all the four unions has paid dividends. We've seen some fantastic games going right down to the wire. We've seen some what would you traditionally term upsets. So it's proven that expansion, given everyone balanced sides, it's definitely been beneficial.
It's certainly been more competitive. How do you see the future of the Interpros? There's obviously been some mixed wickets. The wicket here today has proved very tricky to bat on in particular.
Yeah, I think that's the idea. You've got to get your interprovincial tournament as close to international. It's never going to replicate international standard. South Africa come here very soon. You're going to be playing on wickets in Malahide, fantastic international standard wickets. You've got to try and get those interprovincial wickets as close to that standard as you can so that they're playing under those conditions. Then you put best v best, and it has all the makings of increasing your players' abilities when it comes to that top level of cricket.
Yeah, and the exposure those players are getting. The 9th season of the IP20, this Leinster Lightning winning 6 editions, the Northern Knights winning once, and the Northwest Warriors winning once. Could be anyone's season this year. It's very hard to call.
Yeah, it's been fantastic, and Northwest sitting top at the moment, but you see how much pressure Munster put Leinster Lightning on there, and Leinster Lightning have always been traditionally the strong team across all formats, and they're in new territory now. They don't have the same depth of talent that they've had in previous years to cope with injuries or players out of form. So there are big questions being asked of a lot of guys, and it's putting guys under pressure, and that's what you want. You want guys to be coming in really fighting, really being asked questions and challenged.
The focus at the moment in Ireland solely on white ball cricket, of course, no red ball Interpros this year. The reason for that, T20 World Cups in 2021. We hope a T20 World Cup in 2022 if Ireland can qualify again, and we'll talk a bit about the 50 over stuff in a while, but the real focus on the shortest format at the moment. 2 back-to-back festivals. We're going to have 3 T20Is against South Africa, 5 T20Is against Zimbabwe, before probably another tour prepping for that T20 World Cup. What players have you seen that might be putting themselves in the mix for that World Cup, whether that be held out in India or possibly moved to the UAE?
Well, as I said earlier in commentary, I've been impressed how Shane Getgett's improved as a player, and I think that power hitting middle order slot is something that Ireland have been lacking over the last few years. They've got fantastic talent up front. They've got Kevin O'Brien, who I know he's slightly out of sorts at the moment, Andrew Balbirnie, Paul Sterling, they need someone that's going to come in that middle order. Simi Singh's been impressive as well, and just filling in that continuing that hitting slot, almost the way the Northwest Warriors have approached this 2020 tournament so far, they've stacked the top order with guys who can clear the ropes consistently, and you see a lot of international 2020 teams doing that, and Ireland need to get that formula into their game.
Would you like to see that exact approach, the Gary Wilson zero fear, the Owen Morgan approach, no holds barred, right from ball one, we're going to back our philosophy, we're going to back our players? Would you like to see that brought into the Irish side for the T20?
And this is the perfect platform to experiment with that. Get the guys in, get them playing positive, aggressive cricket. Get them lose that fear of failing. There is going to be a match where it doesn't work out, as it happened last week against Munster in the middle game. Ireland take that approach. You're only going to learn if you try. If you try to be more positive, you try to up your boundary count, you try to get more 4s and 6s out of the maximum 120 balls that you have, then sooner or later you're going to get better at doing it, and you're going to be able to do it more consistently, and you've got to find the guys that enable you to do that.
Spin bowling is going to play a key role at this World Cup later in the year. Simi Singh continues to be in phenomenal form, really. He's turning into one of the first names on the team sheet from the Irish perspective. Andy McBride, you always know what you're going to get. What about a bolter? Ben White maybe for that T20 World Cup, do you feel?
Possibly. A bit of variety. Ireland have two very good spinners who bowl very good control. Unfortunately, they don't have that X factor, that mystery spinner. You're always searching for it. Every team in the world searching for it. Not everyone has a Rashid Khan, but you try your best to get close to that. Ben White, someone who takes the ball away. He's tall. He gets a lot of bounce, and if you play on wickets that are conducive to that, it could turn into be a bit of a secret weapon for you.
The pace stocks for Ireland certainly seem pretty high at the moment. Barry McCarthy superb in the 50 over stuff. Josh Little outstanding in the Netherlands, and Craig Young has turned into the leader of the attack. Mark Adair certainly showing the quality he can bring as well in certain points. You'd think that the pace bowlers are settled for the Irish side?
Yeah, I think they're settled, and I think the guys you mentioned there have certainly been to the fore the last few years. Craig Young, I think, has marketably improved, and he's stepped up. You can see he's a real confidence bowler, and he's bowling with a lot of confidence at the moment. He's really hitting the deck hard. He's getting it come through. But those guys you talked about there, Josh Little, he's got his left arm variety. Craig Young bowling tremendous. They're both bowling high 80s, very, very quick, which we've never really had at this level before in Ireland. And you see that platform, you see that bar that they're setting for the rest of the guys. There has been some good bowling on display throughout the 2020 festival and throughout the 50 overs this year. Josh Manley's been bowling very well, as we mentioned on commentary, and it's good to see that. It's good to see that talent pool of fast bowlers expanded. You need as many as you can get. Yeah,
Fionn Hand and Aaron Cawley both doing a great job for the Reds as well. But that's the T20 format, World Cup to look forward to, not just a T20 World Cup, but also the excitement of the Super 12s for the first time. So that Super 10 that Ireland missed out on in 2016 up in Dharamsala, that defeat to Oman that really broke Irish fans' hearts. We will now have the chance, top 2 in that group will qualify, so a real opportunity to go back and get on the global stage, and that opportunity is probably going to be the more likely opportunity for Ireland at the global events, because in 50 over cricket it's been a real struggle in recent times. You've been following the Cricket World Cup Super League very closely. The Netherlands was a really disappointing tour. Yeah, it was a really disappointing tour. I think Ireland went there without being overconfident. They openly targeted 3 wins. They had to be confident that they were going to achieve that. It didn't work out, and I think from the last game I spoke about, I just felt that the body language for me looked poor. They looked like they let conditions affect them, and they turned what could have been a 2-1 series victory into a 2-1 defeat, and they're struggling now. Peter, we're now in a position with 2 wins from 9 games where any points against South Africa would be a bonus. We know how fine a side they are. But that Zimbabwe series almost turns into a must-win. The potential implications if Ireland were to finish 13th and be relegated from this league, absolutely massive, not just for the near-term but long-term future of the sport here. Absolutely. You want to stay in the top tier, you want to stay playing against the best, it's crucial. Ireland always had the ability to nick a win here and there against big guys. They always had the potential to take a win off England, to take a win off South Africa, but you got to back that up by beating teams like Holland. You got to win those series. You got to win those series against Zimbabwe, along with picking up your victories here and there. And to be 3-0 against Afghanistan, 2-1 against Holland, they're real. They were real knives in the heart, for want of a better word. The umpires are going out behind us. One final question. Can Ireland find 20, if not 30 points from the 6 games this summer?
Hopefully.
Ever the optimist. That's Peter Gillespie. I'm going to run back to the commentary box. I'll be on with Andrew Blair-White. We've got a thriller in store. Can the Leinster Lightning, the reigning champions, get it done? They've got a low total to defend. The Munster Reds looking to pull off the upset. Let's find out what's going to go and happen. Let's get over to Andrew.
Yeah, and the two openers have made their way to the middle. It's PJ Moore, the Munster Reds captain, the Munster Reds wicketkeeper, now the opening batter as well. Opening with Seamus Lynch, the young man from Terranure. Good to see him given this opportunity at the top. He opens in club cricket for Terranure. He's a hard-hitting young batter. Probably we haven't seen him quite to his best effect yet in the Interpro circuit. But fingers crossed that will happen soon enough, and we're going to have Barry McCarthy opening the bowling from the Mason Road end of the ground. And Andrew has ran from his Beyond the Boundary segment to join me in the commentary box.
Thanks, AB. Are we going to see a reaction from the Leinster Lightning? They need it. An under par total. Very indifferent performance with the bat. Are we going to see a reaction? Barry McCarthy and Josh Little most likely with the new ball. They're going to need it. And they'll have PJ Moore to contend with, who was in sparkling form, finally finding his touch in that innings of 49. It came off just 24 deliveries against the Northern Knights. McCarthy imperious in the 50 over stuff, but expensive. The weekend just gone, an economy rate of 10, picking up 3 wickets. They'll need early wickets from him.
Yeah, positive start from Seamus Lynch, driving confidently out to Kevin O'Brien at mid-off. Be interesting to see how the Reds approach this run chase. Sometimes with these little in-between chases you can get... You can either do one of two things. You can approach it almost too negatively and get behind the run rate, or sometimes you can go out all guns blazing, and sometimes that leads to you being ahead of the rate, but you can lose wickets as a result. So it'll be interesting to see how they try to approach it. Lynch usually does hit the ball hard. I think go out there and try to get them off to a flyer.
Thuds into the pad, a huge appeal and given. He's come across his stumps, Lynch. The ball is ricocheted into the leg side. That can sometimes be an indicator as to whether it was going on to hit the stumps or not. Kevin O'Brien might have felt a little hard done by in the first innings. Is this one sliding or is it going on to hit leg stump?
Yeah, I think that's probably fairly adjacent. Rowley Black's given that one out. Seamus Lynch had made his way well across the stumps there, and it's exactly what the Leinster Lightning needed. I said it at the time on commentary, it didn't look much when Josh Little scored 14, Davy O'Halloran with 6 not out, but it gave them 20-25 runs that they probably shouldn't have got, and now they've got no wicket with the second ball, and it's all about momentum.
I've done Rowley Black a massive injustice. On first viewing I felt that might have just been a tiny bit leg-sideish. It wasn't. Lynch came a long way across his stumps. It shows just how difficult a job the umpires have seeing it live in real time. I think that's going on to hit the middle of middle. Lynch looked a little unhappy with the decision, but he didn't have any reason to be. McCarthy, full, straight, smashing into middle, maybe middle and leg.
Yeah, it's very hard from our position here to just quite understand how much Seamus Lynch had shuffled across his stumps, but it brings a Murray Cummins to the wicket at number 3, who's been the mainstay batter for the Munster Reds this year in both the 20 over format and the 50 over format. And I suspect he wouldn't have particularly wanted to have come in quite this early with Barry McCarthy. Now with his tail up, he's usually a rhythm bowler, Barry. He's steaming in here from the Mason Road end.
Another big appeal, this one jagging back, given! McCarthy is 2-2, he's got the biggest scalp of the lot. Murray Cummins, the leading run scorer for the Reds across all formats, and McCarthy is on a hat-trick, brilliant from the big man. I've asked, was there going to be a reaction, Andrew? Here's the reaction, it's none for 2.
Yeah, super from Barry McCarthy. This one just jagging back to Murray Cummins, not a sort of delivery you want to be getting first up as a left-hander. None for 2, and the Munster Reds in all sorts of issues here early on. You're in team talks. You'll have been talking about trying to get off to a good start, getting early partnerships, and not only is your opener, but your number 3 is now back in the hut as well.
Yeah, we can't bring you the replay of that one. I'm just going to bring it up on my screen in front of me just to try and talk you through it at least. It was rapid from McCarthy. It was full. Got to pitch it in line coming over the wicket to the left-hander. It did jag back. Certainly wasn't going over the top. Cummins might have felt like he might have just got outside the line. But it's going on to hit the stumps in the umpire Rowley Black's opinion. Big Barry McCarthy. He's on a hat-trick.
Yeah, Jack Carty comes to the crease at number 4. And this is not the ideal situation to be in. Barry McCarthy, as I alluded to just before, the Cummins delivery, when he gets his tail up, when wickets are beginning to tumble, there's no man you want to be facing less than Barry McCarthy.
Just one previous T20 hat-trick. Thank you to Ger Siggins for this stat. That's come from Tyrone Kane for the Leinster Lightning versus the Knights in 2015. In fact, that was a List A game, so we've never had one in the IP20. Can Barry McCarthy do it? Tail up, bowling to the left-handed Carty. Full and straight and so nearly cannoning in to off stump. What a delivery first up. Nearly the perfect hat-trick delivery. Did that just nearly graze the off stump, Andrew?
Well, certainly looked to it from the naked eye that this was very close. Be interesting to see on the replay. It's an unbelievably good delivery from McCarthy. Again, getting that ball to tail back into the left-hander, Yorker length. And Carty beating all ends up.
Yeah, Carty in a different role in the middle order this time. We saw him up at the top of the order last weekend. This is a super start from the Leinster Lightning. I wondered, were we going to have a reaction? I wonder what the talk was in the changing room at the halfway stage. They did not look a happy coaching and management unit. Nigel Jones, the head coach, Brian O'Rourke, the assistant coach, and George Dockrell, the captain, looked very unhappy. Interesting, Wasp still staying around 43%. It shows how few runs the Lightning have on the board. 2 early wickets. They're going to need to find a third in this power play. They very nearly do. What a start. We've had 2 double wicket maidens today. The first coming for the Munster Reds, a second coming for the Leinster Lightning. It puts the game right back in the balance, right back in the mix. Brilliant from Barry McCarthy.
Yeah, super start from McCarthy. Often as a bowling group you talk about setting the tone early, hitting the ground running. Seamus Lynch second delivery, Murray Cummins third delivery of Barry McCarthy's over. Both back in the hut, LBW. It's exactly what the Leinster Lightning needed. And the Munster Reds reeling here at 0 for 2. And PJ Moore, the captain, and he had the best seat in the house at the non-strikers end, but he'll be disappointed with what he's seen. And he now gets to face Josh Little, who's going to bowl from the pavilion end, who's been very good himself in imperious form this year. Josh Little, and he'll be looking to back up what has been a super start from Barry McCarthy.
Just punched off the back foot by PJ Moore, straight to Rory Andrews. The number 0 on his back into the side today. Nice to see the YMCA all-rounder given a chance into the side. 2 players left out for the Lightning today. Gavin Hoey, who will likely make his debut this weekend, his T20 debut, the young leg-spinning batting all-rounder from Pembroke Cricket Club, and Jack Tector back into the squad, having been left out last weekend. Do you think it was anything to do with the pitch, the poor batting performance from the Lightning? They just looked a little bit at odds with themselves at the moment generally.
Yeah, I think there's a few guys there who aren't maybe in the best of form, and then obviously you're reliant so much on the likes of Andy Balbirnie, George Dockrell, who have scored so many runs that the lower order hasn't actually been exposed to too many different situations.
Pull shot from PJ Moore, gets it in front of square, and he's going to time it well enough for the first runs of the day off the bat for the Munster Reds to be a boundary. The shorter side of the ground is going to roll up the hill into the media tent. Not a good delivery from Josh Little, not necessarily the length you want to be bowling on this pitch.
No, it didn't look off the bat like PJ Moore had given this any sort of hit at all, but it just goes to show how well he timed the ball, and so far in front of square as well, that man at deep square leg who's on square, if anything a little bit backward, couldn't get to it.
brought about the change in the field. The slip fielder comes out. Andy Balbirnie goes across to mid-wicket. So, a 5-4 offside field. PJ Moore really does hit the ball firmly at the top of the order for the Reds. You'll have to feel that he's going to be the key wicket. Little not happy with how they're coming out from over the wicket. He's going to come around.
Yeah, changing things up here. Josh Little, we've seen him with such great effect come round the wicket in recent times. Makes for an awkward angle. He kind of slings the ball back in at you as a right-handed bat.
Tucks PJ Moore up, who just works it around the corner to the leg side. Cardi certainly been shy of runs since he's come into this Munster Reds setup. Who else do you think will be important to this chase? Matt Ford probably going to be the most important batsman in the middle order for the Reds.
You'd have to think so, and another man being a bit shy of runs has been Greg Ford, and we know the ability is there. He's been a little bit short on runs himself. Obviously Ali Frost, the new man, the debutant. Fionn Hand probably come in that lower middle order as well.
Flicks off the pad, a big appeal from Lorcan Tucker in particular. More stifled one from Josh Little. Remember, if you leave the ball, if you do not play a shot, the impact can be outside the off stump. That's no doubt where it was. Did it jag back enough to go on to hit the stumps?
Jeez, it was closer than I thought it was when we were watching it live. Jack Carty, that was a dangerous leave on him around that off stump line, and Lorcan Tucker was on his haunches after it. He thought it was out, and I can see why.
Under edge and just doesn't carry through to Tucker. I think the height is the thing that saved him. Jack Carty, a very tall man. It's flicked above the knee roll. It's flicked the flap of the pad really, so probably going on to miss the top of the stumps. One of those ones you often see in the Hawkeye in the televised matches where you think, alright, pitched in line, hit him in line, oh, this is going to be out, and then you see the graphics visualising the ball going over the top. Little getting good bounce there. End of the second over, it's 6 for 2.
Really the key to this Munster Reds run chase is going to be wickets, you'd have to think. Shouldn't have any issues getting to 134 from a run rate required point of view, but already 2 back in the hut, and if you lose 3 or 4 wickets in the power play, you're in a really sticky situation. So that'll be in the minds of both Moore and Carty. Have to do some type of rebuilding.
Nicely bowled by McCarthy. Squares PJ Moore up a little, just comes off the shoulder of the bat out towards the offside. Yeah, I think McCarthy, as we've spoken about before, when he's expensive, he tends to be bowling too full. If he can bowl the ball into the pitch, particularly on a wicket like this, he's going to be so effective. It obviously does bring about more wickets, and his strike rate in terms of wicket taking is right up there with some of the greats of the game, in the ODI format in particular. Just wide of the man at backward point. It was aerial. I think for a moment they thought it was going to carry for the chance, but that's the shortest part of the ground, and it runs away for a boundary off the bat of PJ Moore.
Yeah, I'd say for a while Tim Tector might have been interested there at backward point, but it's well to his left, and as you say, Lenny, it's so short down there and so quick down to the pavilion. Josh Little had no chance scampering around at third man. PJ Moore onto 9. And you say there, Andrew, about McCarthy potentially straining too full at times when he's been expensive, both for the Lightning and in Ireland for the past. Do you reckon that's almost straining too much for that almost the wonder delivery?
I just think his natural style is to bowl quite full. We're only talking a matter of probably 9 inches, 6 inches too full. Just turns into long half volleys. We saw Ramachav, Afghanistan in January there, just that little bit too full. Now what it does bring into play, particularly on a wicket like this that's doing a bit, it brings into play the opportunity for dismissals, but with the extra pace that he bowls at, McCarthy up certainly north of 80 miles an hour, often up at 84, 85, 86 miles an hour. Just means the batsman can throw the kitchen sink at it, particularly in the T20, just 2 fielders allowed outside the circle. I like him when he comes in and hits the splice of the bat, just back of a good length. Again, to batsmen maybe of slightly lesser quality, who haven't played as much interprovincial or international cricket, like Carty. You know, that extra pace and that fuller delivery, he can't lay a bat on.
Yeah, something that McCarthy, that delivery he's bowled to Murray Cummins really is exactly the type of ball he wants to be bowling, where it's hitting him kind of on the knee roll or in and around the knee roll at that type of length.
And Carty has got a role to play here. He's none off 7. We've seen this at points for the Reds. He's really struggled. I think it was 13 off 51 down at the Mardyke in the IP20. Can't afford to let your team get too far behind. Already that run rate required, moving above 7 and over. He's none off 7. It's 11 for 2 after 3.
Yeah, and we're going to see a change of bowling. We're going to see David O'Halloran come into the attack from the pavilion end. He's been very impressive in the 50 over format last weekend down in Sydney Bready. He took wickets, but he took wickets at an expense, and it'll be interesting to see whether PJ Moore potentially tries to take on the young Malahide seam bowler. Maybe tries to put the pressure back on him.
We've got to get a shirt number for David O'Halloran. This is getting ridiculous. It's been in the team right since the start of the season. What number are we going for? Come on, tweet us your suggestions. Is he a 17? I reckon he's a bit of a 17. What do you think?
Yeah, I reckon he has a 17 in him, yeah.
Yeah, come on, get down to Ed Sports there. Get the jersey printed up, or down to O'Neill's, of course. Starts with a short ball, and you can't bowl there to a batsman of PJ Moore's class. It's gone flat, but high enough to go all the way for 6. Real power. Not a good start from O'Halloran, and dispatched by the Zimbabwean PJ Moore.
Yeah, well, that's exactly not the ball to bowl on this ground, on this pitch. And with that leg side boundary, and PJ Moore needed no second invitation to pull that away. It's tricky for a seam bowler. You've been hit for 6 off your first ball. Would be interesting to see how O'Halloran bounces back.
And he's going to be flicked away for 4 more. 6 and 4. Wasp is soaring. Wasp's over 60% already. It'll rise even further with that 4. Certainly don't think Munster are that strongly fancied, but the chase is a small one. And 2 or 3 bad overs like this from the Leinster Lightning perspective will be all the Munster Reds will need.
You're making the assumption Wasp is getting a little bit jumpy, Lenny. Getting a bit ahead of itself.
Well, 69%. It's not a 70-30 game right now. I think it's right in the balance. 2 early wickets. The Lightning are going to need to get PJ Moore out. I was talking to him after his innings last week and just expressing some delight for his impressive knock against the Northern Knights, 49 off 24. When he was ticking, the Reds were looking right in that match. And he was telling me that he feels like he's on about 4,000 not out in the nets. He hasn't been ever seen them better in his whole career in the nets, but just sometimes that doesn't translate to the pitch. Of course, these conditions a little alien to him still, coming up back for his second stint into Irish cricket. The Zimbabwean, who's played a lot of Test, ODI and T20 cricket for Zimbabwe. Huge talent, and somebody who could well go on to have a second career with Ireland, you'd have to think.
Yeah, you'd have to think, and it's one of those things, sometimes it doesn't initially translate from the nets out to the middle, but it will in time for PJ.
Carty still can't get off the mark, and certainly the Leinster Lightning are going to be much, much happier bowling to Jack Carty than they would to PJ Moore. Look at those contrasting strike rates. PJ Moore striking at nearly 200. Carty yet to get off the mark, 8 deliveries into his innings.
Well, certainly some welcome relief for Davy O'Halloran. Bowling to Carty, will look to try to get a few drop balls in.
Carty will get off the mark. It's to Singh at mid-on. Probably won't be much longer till we see Simi Singh brought in. His 4 overs going to be absolutely critical. I hasten to think what would be happening to the Lightning without Singh and Dockrell right now.
Yeah, exactly. They've been the glue that have been keeping it together and potentially papering over a few cracks as well in the process. Two excellent all-round cricketers.
Half an appeal. Probably going on to beat leg stump. Good work from Tim Tector in a backward point. Affects the direct hit, but they'll get through for the single, which will be signalled as a leg bye. So O'Halloran, after going for 6 and 4 the first two balls, pulls it back a little. 12 runs coming off his bowling, 13 from the over. Good comeback from the young man, showing good character.
Yes, indeed. And as you say it, I think Simi Singh is going to come into the attack now from the Mason Road end. 24 for 2, the Munster Reds. It's all about wickets for the Leinster Lightning, and Simi Singh's the type of guy that may well just open the door. And if he was to take maybe the crucial wicket of PJ Moore, who I think an awful lot of this Reds run chase depends upon, Leinster will know that, and they're trying to bring on one of their premier bowlers to try and get that huge wicket and get themselves back in the game and back maybe ahead of the game in the process.
Yeah, and they'll bowl him from the Mason Road end of the ground, because then he's got a massive boundary in the leg side to protect to the right-hander. PJ Moore and both those fielders that are allowed outside the circle in this first 6 overs of power play are on the leg side, long on and deep mid-wicket, but it's a 5-4 offside field, a real old-fashioned ring on the offside. Those 5 fielders all equally spaced, trying to cut off the single and the boundary on the offside. And PJ Moore gets that down to long on. Big claps for every run, very noticeably from the Munster tent across to our left.
Yeah, just showing, I suppose, how together they are, and often, as we said before, in these sort of smaller run chases, got to make sure that the batters know you're well and truly behind them. It can be a lonely game out there, especially for the likes of a Jack Carty, 1 off 9. You need all the support you can get from the sidelines.
Yeah, but Simi Singh will really enjoy bowling to the left-handed Carty, who's been shy of runs and just struggling with the adaptation up the grade, up to the interprovincial level, the Marion CC all-rounder. He won't mind the shorter boundary. Singh for the left-hander. Hit over the top from PJ Moore. I was just about to say, I wonder, are we going to see a few leg breaks? It's hard to tell in the gather as he comes up to deliver Singh whether it's going to be an off break or a leg break, but that was the off break. PJ Moore clubs it down the ground past Kevin O'Brien for 4 runs.
Yeah, lovely shot from PJ Moore. Darted in there from Simi Singh, but as he is bowling in the power play, not as much protection out as he usually would have, and Moore takes full advantage, moving on to 26 for the Reds 30.
The other bowling options for the Leinster Lightning, Rory Anders obviously into the team today. George Dockrell's left arm spin. Are you going to see overs from anyone else?
I highly doubt it. I'd say those will be them used. Between them and the 4 already used, there's your 6 bowlers. I'd be highly surprised if we saw anything else. I think the overs probably of Singh and Dockrell could well be crucial in this run chase.
Yeah, probably Kevin O'Brien the only other option with the ball for the Leinster Lightning.
Yeah, exactly, but we haven't seen Kevin bowl for an awful long time at this stage, at this level, which I always think is a bit of a shock.
Wrapped on the pad, that looks very close indeed. I wonder, has height saved Carty again? He came wide of the crease, Simi Singh. Rolly Black had a good long think about it. This one may be a little closer than you'd think.
Yeah, I think this one was skidding on. Looks close enough on that replay.
Look at where the ball's rolled back. It's rolled back straight towards Singh. That would indicate it was straight enough. It's always hard to tell. We only have access to the reverse angle that you're seeing that delivery from, but that looked very close indeed. Maybe just the height. Not sure it was going down leg, Andrew.
Oh, very hard to know from here.
How does the ball roll back towards the offside if it's going down leg?
Yeah, well, I didn't think it was too high either.
Well, between the pair of us, we found enough doubt to give Rolly Black the benefit of the doubt for his decision. He's already given 2 LBWs. You often wonder, does that weigh into an umpire's decision? The first one for McCarthy, absolutely plumb. Of Lynch, the second one looked pretty adjacent too for Murray Cummins. Going to see another change in the bowling. Just the one over of David O'Halloran back to Josh Little. That's a problem for Leinster Lightning though, if they actually only have 5 out and out bowling options. I saw Kevin O'Brien bowl down a few in the warm up, but there isn't really anyone else in this Lightning side. This one's pulled into the deep towards Kevin O'Brien, who cuts off the boundary very cleverly. Uses the reverse cup hands and cuts off 2 as well. 3-run save there from the Irish veteran.
Yeah, good work from Kevin O'Brien again. PJ more than happy to go on to that favoured pull shot of his, well in front of square, and Kevin O'Brien's done superbly there to actually save a boundary. Very hard, those ones that land in that in-between area, but he's done well. Kept it to a single.
Yeah, it was clever work as well, because he was actually, I think, probably airborne as he flicked the ball back in from the rope. As long as you jump from within the plane perimeter, you're allowed to be airborne behind the rope. Carty getting big cheers for every single. His teammates, the Reds, know how important it is to get more back onto strike, particularly with the last few deliveries of the power play. 28 off 17, picking up where he left off last week. 49 off 24. It was one of the innings of the weekend last weekend from PJ Moore. Such clean striking.
Yeah, it was a super innings, and it just goes to show that runs are going to come for PJ Moore. He's such a talented batter, such a talented player in general. It's good to see him in the runs, enjoying himself.
Just thought for a moment, Andrew, you'd done what's going to have to be referred to as a classic Andrew Blair White. I thought you'd put the mockers on another batsman there.
I'd never do it to PJ, who's
It was close.
pulled one airily out towards Kevin O'Brien, but
Was your heart in your mouth for just a moment?
yeah, no, it's usually the Northern Knights are involved when I'm calling, and unfortunately I've put the markers on a lot of Northern Knights players over the
You've
last
some hit list this season.
last number of weeks anyway.
Quite an 11. It might not just be an 11 with the way you're
It's
going at the moment.
It's a good side.
Little will come over the wicket to Carty. Wonder will he go full and straight here, the big tall left-hander. Doesn't go full and straight, just goes length. Carty again getting big cheers. The boundaries for Moore are getting the same cheers that the singles for Carty are getting. He's got 4 off 13, Moore's got 29 off 18. But this great game of ours, it's all about partnerships.
Exactly, and it's good clever batting there from Jack Carty. He's just realising he needs to get PJ Moore back on strike, especially to that shorter leg side boundary. Just clipping that one down towards mid-on. Good positive call, gets himself off strike.
Interesting, the Lightning are continuing with the slightly shorter deliveries to PJ Moore. I think they are worried about his power game down the ground to anything full.
They are, but at the same time he seems to be equally astute with that shorter delivery and loves getting onto that pull shot, so it's probably a fine line and fine length you have to bowl to PJ Moore. Interesting field this, deep square leg and deep mid wicket out for Josh Little to the left-hander. Seems a bit of a strange option.
Final delivery, the power play. Might see some short stuff here from Little. Worked into the leg side. Carty's going to continue with the singles. 6 singles coming from that over. We get to the end of the power play. Just above a run of ball at the moment, the Munster Reds. It's 37 for 2 in their chase of the Leinster Lightning's total of 133 for 9. If you're just joining us for the first time today, you're very welcome. Wherever you're watching from right the way around the world, been delighted to have you all in such fantastic numbers. Huge numbers peaking during that thrilling 1-run win for the home side, the Northwest Warriors. It's the second festival of 3 scheduled IP20 festivals where we play 6 games in 3 days. The points table at the moment, the Northwest Warriors, they're on top. They've played 4 games. They've won 3 of them. One of them a bonus point win, so they've got 13 points. In second place at the moment, it's the Northern Knights, and whoever wins today, whether it's the Leinster Lightning or the Munster Reds in this, the 4 p.m. the afternoon game, will go into second place. The Reds would move past the Knights on net run rate. Leinster Lightning would go past them with an additional point. Lightning having 5 and the Reds having 4 points. Wasp seems to indicate this could be quite a comfortable chase, but you feel that the Lightning are just a wicket or two away, particularly that wicket of PJ Moore, from bringing themselves right into the game.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't agree that it's a 78-22 game. I'd say the Reds currently are in the better position, especially with this partnership growing. But as you say, just takes one wicket, PJ Moore back in the hut. The Leinster Lightning will feel they're probably favourites.
Nicely bowled by Simi Singh, very full to be going back to for PJ Moore. The power play being over means the fielding restrictions have eased, so Simi Singh is utilising all 5 men that he's allowed to outside the circle. It sounds counterintuitive, but that can sometimes make run scoring more difficult.
Yeah, it does. Well, it cuts off boundary options, and I think sometimes you, even as a batter, you can kind of fall into a mentality of just knocking the ball around, and you're probably don't have the same amount of intent there. What I wouldn't mind seeing, though, with Jack Carty on strike, is just one more player in the ring. Get that 5th man in the ring. Really try to stop singles. Try to keep him on strike and get him to play a big shot.
Well, I'd go a step further than that. I'd like to see a 6th man in the ring as well. Carty's shown no indication of taking any aggressive option. Why have both long off, long on out, let alone deep mid-wicket and deep backward square leg? Simi Singh is your form control bowler. Surely you want to get the absolute squeeze on Carty. He's 6 off 16 here.
Yeah, well, that's the point I was making, just in terms of trying to squeeze him to play that shot that across the line.
They're trying to keep him in here, do you think?
Well, I don't know, but he's dotted up again in this over. 6 off 17 now. Something's got to give at some stage. Like, I know you're trying to build partnerships.
Not going to bring another man into the ring, but they are going to bring another man to the offside. So everyone in the leg side, barring fine leg in the deep now. Josh Little comes across.
Wouldn't surprise me to see Singh dart one into the leg side there.
That ball going exactly where Josh Little just was, so gave away the single, the change in the field. But again, not altogether too sure why deep mid-wicket is out, but maybe what Leinster Lightning will say is they're happy with the single. Keeps Carty on strike, 7 overs gone, 41 for 2.
Well, that's kind of the point I was trying to make there, in terms of I actually think that was on purpose to get that single, and for Carty to keep the strike. He's on 7. PJ Moore on 31, 41 for 2 after 7. Andrew Leonard's going to leave me for a few overs. I'm going to be joined again by Peter Gillespie, as Rory Anders is going to come into the attack for the first time today for the Leinster Lightning. Peter, game probably set pretty fair at the moment.
Yeah, those 2 quick wickets for Leinster put the game in the balance, but when you're not chasing a big total, you do have that time to regroup, take stock. The run rate's never going to get out of control. It's quite manageable at 7s, and especially in this format, you're never out of the game. So Jack Carty and PJ Moore are really doing the job they need to do here. And Jack Carty's slow, but he's just anchoring an end while PJ's striking some lovely shots. So they know the job that's ahead of them, and they're certainly settling in well for the task so far.
Yeah, Anders into the attack for the first time, was in the squad for all 3 games last weekend, didn't get a game. He'd been anxious to now make an impression. Yeah, a good start there, slightly shorter to Jack Carty, a little bit of that tennis ball bounce that we've seen throughout today. Carty just struggling for timing, 7 off 19.
Yeah, we've seen it consistently today, Andrew. If you bowl that certain length, the ball is going to stick and hold in the wicket. And the amount of times I've seen batsmen through their shot slightly early, balls just looped over the the age, or it's just not come on as quick as they thought. And I think it's the guys that have figured that out have been most successful. And
Yeah.
Rory's certainly a bowler that likes to hit the deck.
He is indeed. I think you're bang on there. It's the batters that have kind of adjusted to maybe capitalising on the other sort of deliveries. PJ Moore has clipped that one nicely off the pads. And get 2. In between fine leg and deep square leg there.
Yeah, he's certainly putting in the innings we all know he's capable of, which he hasn't shown to date. He's a quality player. So far he's shown that today.
Edged away by PJ Moore. Third man's in the ring. This is fortuitous. He's hit many cleaner boundaries than this, but they'll all count for the Munster Reds. He moves to 37. The Reds to 48 for 2.
Yeah, frustration for Anders. He's angling in there, targeting that off stump, and Thickish outside edge runs away. As you say, fortuitous, but Munster Red won't complain too much.
No, not at all. Shorter this time. Moore again pulling out to deep mid-wicket. A little bit of spongy bounce yet again that we're seeing.
Yeah, but he's quite quick onto that pull shot, and he hasn't missed too many. Some he's not timed, some he's timed very well, but they're quite happy to persist in feeding him there with that shot. I think they've got to just keep their options open here about where they're going to bowl to PJ Moore. Certainly quite happy to give Jack Carty as much strike as they can at the moment. But wickets are definitely the premium. That's the only thing that Leinster can target.
Well, this is it, and I think that's allowing Carty play the way he is. He's just playing a nice little foil innings here to PJ Moore. Moore is keeping the required run rate in check, as you say, just over 7 and over. We've seen people go at much bigger so far today.
Yeah, 49 for 2 off 8. You feel that, as proven numerous occasions today, there always is that one big over in this ground.
Yeah.
There is a short end. The wind is helping to that area, so you feel that, if you keep that run rate somewhere in around 7 to 8, don't let it get out too far for too long, that you always feel comfortable.
I think that's what the Munster Reds will be feeling at the moment with wickets in hand, as we're going to see a change in bowling, and George Dockrell's going to take matters into his own hands there, the Leinster Lightning captain, and he's going to come into the attack with his left arm off breaks. Look to be returning to a bit more like the Dockrell of old last week at Pembroke with his spin.
Yeah, he was fairly economical across his 3 games. He was averaging around 7 and over. Which in this format, when the ball can disappear to all arts and parts, you'd be happy enough with. Although today, as I said, he'll be targeting wickets above economy, you can imagine. But it's a gamble here coming to the left-hander on the short boundary.
It'll be interesting to see whether Carty takes it on or not. Hasn't looked to have shown much intent so far in this innings. But at the same time, as I've discussed there, a few balls go, not really the need.
Yeah, well, George is quite on the flat side of spin bowling. Doesn't turn it a lot. He'll not throw too much up to tempt him. Very much a case of eyeball straight. And if you miss, I'm certainly going to hit.
Another cluster of dots there. 3 in a row. I just wonder at some stage whether that big shot just has to come almost as a release. And there it is. And Cardy's done very well because he's dispatched it for 6. It was too short from George Dockrell. Jack Carty needed a ball to just get him out of that rut of dots. And he's got a short one. And credit where it's due. He's pounced on it superbly and plundered a massive 6.
Yeah, as you say, Andrew, it's all well and good being patient, but you have to be ready when you do get that bad ball to be able to put it away and capitalise, and Jack Carty certainly did there. And that's certainly the thing with this type of run rate, as the over ends 56 for 2 off 9. With this type of run rate, you're always one bad ball and over away from keeping up with the rate. So even if you do go through a cluster of dots, you know that if that bad ball comes along, you put it away, you're right back in the mix again.
Exactly. They're in a funny position here, the Reds, where if they get home from this position, you'll say, well, it was a wonderfully managed run chase. They're just going along, needing around 7 and over, and they're keeping things in check. But if that run rate does, a required run rate, should I say, escalates, you know, with 5-6 overs to go, they lose a few wickets and they end up in a sticky enough situation. Will they wonder why they haven't gone a little bit harder at this stage of the innings?
As PJ just nips that one out into the covers. I think probably 2 wickets and 2 balls, one of them being their premier batsman Murray Cummings. I think that's kind of dictated the pace of the innings to date. You know, Murray Cummings has been fantastic so far for Munster Reds. If he comes in and he gets going in a chase like this, then that chase is going to be, you know, you can almost think possibly in the realms of a bonus point chase. But when he goes first ball LB, and you don't have the depth in the batting lineup that other teams do, then you've got to readjust your sights. As Halloran comes back from the pavilion end. And at this stage, I think you're just happy to get over the line.
As you say, Peter, it's a ground where just one good over and that run rate required could be down to a run of ball.
This would be a big scalp for the Munster Reds if they manage to pull it off, and I'm sure they're aware of that. I'm sure they're aware of what's to come. And in this situation, you just think that the balance of pressure lies in both equally on both sides. A couple of wickets here, or a few overs without a wicket, can shift it either way.
Yeah, good batting from PJ Moore. Driving to mid-off. George Dockrell with a shy at the stumps. Moore would have been comfortably in. He moves on to 40. It's been a super innings from the Munster Reds captain, really holding his hands up. He was at the non-strikers end for those first 2 dismissals. Took strike for the first time today with the score 0 for 2. And Jack Carty have got it to 59 for 2.
Yeah, you just keep things ticking along. In such a small total, you know, boundaries aren't as much of a premium as they would be in other circumstances. So you can afford these types of overs. You can afford an over where you can just take it along at maybe 4 or 5 singles. So Carty smacks that back off O'Halloran. It was a difficult chance. Following through, this tall guy to get down low there, ends the over. 59 for 2 off 10. Almost a run of ball so far. You say it's a good recovery job done so far for Munster Reds.
Yeah, you'd have to think so. Having a look at that ball back from Davy O'Halloran, it's almost hit him straight on the head. It's just hit him, almost deflected up to Josh Little at extra cover. But we saw in the first game, the Northwest Warriors were 60 after 10 overs. The Northern Knights were, I think, 57 after 10 overs. Both of them ended up getting around 160. Just goes to show how quickly you can go.
Yeah, again, if you have that patience to give yourself the time at the crease. PJ Moore certainly doing a job here, rotating the strike when he needs to, being patient when he needs to.
And straight to Simi Singh at mid-wicket, and Jack Carty's done an awful lot of hard work for that innings of 15, but he'll feel again that he's gotten out in a soft dismissal. It was short from Dockrell. He tries to pull this away and he's just lobbed it straight to mid-wicket.
Yeah, strange choice there. I don't think it was as short as he thought it was. He's a tall man and he really had to reach down for it. Didn't get the elevation that he would have liked as he did in the previous over, and as a result he slapped it straight to Simi Singh at mid-wicket, who takes a very good catch. And that's just the wicket that Leinster Lightning were craving. It's just broken that little stand there that was that good stand that Munster Reds put on, and it's put them back under pressure again.
Well, this is the point of that going at a run of ball and keeping things ticking over. Just means if there's suddenly another wicket, say PJ Moore was to be dismissed in the next over or so, Munster Reds suddenly need 7.5, 8 and over, 2 new men in at the crease, and things can just escalate away from you a little bit quicker than you'd like to. As Matt Ford comes in at number 5. He's been excellent with the bat this year. Has an unorthodox technique though, and hits the ball sometimes in stranger areas than most would. Barry McCarthy has almost taken one of the best catches we've seen this year. Back at mid-on, Matt Ford took the bait. He went for the big shot with mid-on in the ring, and McCarthy has jumped heroically over his head there and almost clung on. It's just come out of his hand on impact. Would have been a super catch.
Well, that wouldn't have been a specky, that would have been a worldie. But as you say, Matt Ford not afraid to take up the challenge. He has an unorthodox technique.
Again with the slog sweep, and it's Tim Tector this time running in at deep mid-wicket. Another excellent effort. It's just finished short of him, and he's actually done very well in those situations. It's sometimes it can bounce above you and go for 4. He's managed to palm it to mid-on for 2. Ball just eluding the fielders for the Leinster Lightning at the moment. Matt Ford not afraid to take it on here.
Yeah, he's certainly not going to let the bowlers dictate to him in the way that maybe Jack Carty did, as he overends 64 for 3. And as you say, he has an unorthodox technique, but it obviously works for him. He's been successful. I've seen a bit of analysis last night about Josh Butler's technique, how he changes his technique whenever he's facing seam bowling versus spin bowling. Spin bowling, he gets lower, he crouches, almost gets in that power stance, getting ready to play the big shot, where the quicker bowlers, he tends to stand up a bit taller, let the ball come on to him. And Matt certainly gets into that crouch position very early, high backlift, and he looks as if he's come in here with a bit of intent, Andrew.
He does, and potentially the Reds need this, just somebody to come in and really try to put a bit of pressure back on the Lightning bowlers as O'Halloran comes in for his 3rd over. He's done very well, O'Halloran. His first 2 deliveries went for 10 runs. His 2.1 overs now for 16. It's been a good fight back from the young Malahide man. And especially considering he's bowling with that very short leg side boundary, as Moore just pushes one down to long on for 1.
Yeah, he's been impressive, as has PJ Moore. He's really marshalled his innings very well. He's slowed slightly in this last number of overs, but he knows the role he has to play. He knows he needs to see Munster Reds over the line. And there's a bit of discussion now about the field. These two should know each other rather well.
Yeah, they will indeed. Having played a couple of years at Malahide first team cricket together. Plenty of ideas being thrown in the ring for O'Halloran. Kevin O'Brien having his say, George Dockrell having his say.
And ultimately O'Halloran will have his say.
It's good proactive batting from Matt Ford there.
Again showing that intent. Yeah, very intelligent, not settling on a length. Almost the Simi Singh style trademark. Advances, although not with the same intent as Simi. But he's not going to let them settle. He's gonna make sure that he's going to be as proactive as he can.
Again, it's a good length though from O'Halloran. It's a hard length to really get away at, or it's the length you really want to be bowling on this pitch. It's not floaty, it's not too short, and it's just been a pitch that's really been very unforgiving for bowlers if you do miss either too full or too short.
Yeah, and I think that's been the great contest today between bat and ball. I think the batsman, as Ford pushes that one out to the covers, I think the batsmen have been aware that there is an area where you need to target, and when it's been in that area they haven't thought twice about it. Northwest Warriors, the Northern Knights, they've been willing to attack that fuller length. Anything that's up certainly been dispatched, and then the bowlers know they've a bit of margin for error on that short length, banging it in. PJ Moore showing all his experience here now. Quite happy to knock the ball around, hit gaps. Almost 50 over-esque.
Yeah, well, it just feels like this innings was ever so slightly ebbing away, like that sort of we've come to accustomed to in 50 over cricket, where there's almost that lull where singles are being taken. They just want to be a little bit mindful, the Reds. Oh, and that's very fortuitous for Matt Ford. He's going to get a boundary there to fine leg, and how much a boundary like that can kill momentum for a bowling side. You've had a good over from O'Halloran, deserved to get out of there without a boundary, and an inside edge, almost a chop on, goes for 4 down to the vacant fine leg area.
Yeah, many times we see this in cricket. First ball, last ball boundaries. It's very hard, very soul destroying for the bowler and the team. And you can see a few Leinster heads just getting slightly deflated there. And you think it's one of those days where it's just not going to run your way.
Well, it's just one of those. If that had been a dot ball at 65 off 8 overs, it's the run rate required's up over 8 as a result. Even though it's just 4 runs in the grand scheme of things, it can do so much to both teams, both psychologically.
Good batting again by PJ Moore. I think they've got, in the risk analysis, they've got to realise how dangerous someone like Simi Singh can be. How he pulled the Warriors back last week in that last match of the festival, and just say, what? Let's be sensible here.
Yeah, that's the much quicker one from Singh. Almost bowled like a seamer. I think you're right as well. I think these overs from Singh are absolutely critical in this game.
Slightly surprising maybe that George didn't get another over, the way Matt Ford played him in the last over. He was determined to take a chance on him.
Oh, that's an excellent stop. That's an excellent stop from Josh Little. There was a certain boundary otherwise from PJ Moore. It's an excellent reverse sweep. He absolutely middled it. Can often be hard at that short third man area as well, but Josh Little's pulled off a one-hand stop, saves 3 runs.
Yeah, and how often do you see stops like that being vital, lead to a wicket or just a change in fortune of the team? Great effort by Josh.
A bit slower this time from Singh. Again turned away from Matt Ford. Simi Singh, as you can see, coming to the end of his third over, 0 for 15. Hasn't been expensive, but most importantly, from a Munster Reds perspective, 0 wickets. And they want that to stay that way. Probably the Leinster Lightning's most prized bowler, maybe alongside the likes of Barry McCarthy. Just a leg spinner this time from Singh. A bit of a drag down, but he's going to get away with it. Just 1 from it. Another tight over, just a 5 from it. Munster Reds 78 for 3 after 13. They need 56 from 7. A bang 8 and over.
Yeah, you never know how much balls like that maybe reek of desperation. Is he trying something different, trying to get that wicket? They know now they need wickets. You know, they're not gonna keep this game. They're not gonna see this game out by bowling dots, keeping boundaries down. They need wickets, and with that, Josh Little comes back from the pavilion end.
Yeah, I think this is a good option for the Lightning, trying to bring back Josh Little. It wouldn't surprise me if we saw maybe an over even from Barry McCarthy in the next few overs, trying to pry that breakthrough open.
Yeah, you have to shuffle your pack now.
Again, PJ Moore so quick onto that shorter ball, and I think a sign of how well he's seeing it and how well he's timing it is he's hitting that shorter delivery, that pull shot so far in front of square.
Absolutely. He's really adjusted to the pace of this wicket. And Josh Little had quite a lot of success in Holland coming around the wicket, just changing up the angle, coming in from the arm slightly wider. He'll hope to repeat that for Leinster here.
Shorter and Ford has pulled that one away. Again, just a single though.
Very wary of the boundary option on that leg side. They obviously know the length that Josh is going to try and target. They've got the protection, they've got their long on, deep mid wicket, deep square, fine leg. Certainly not worried about the single option there. Maybe just trying to induce him into that spliced pull or that top edge pull. But there's no margin for error there in such a short boundary.
Exactly. More on 48, not out. A little bit of hesitation there for a second, but they get through for a single in the end. Moore fell 1 run short of his 50 last week against the Northern Knights, 49 for him that day. He'll be making sure that won't be the same case today. He gets his first 50 for the Munster Reds this year. But at the same time, his run rate just keeps upping and upping. The more singles, the more dots, the more just pressure begins to creep in.
Yeah, taking singles at will here now. You can see the frustration from Kevin O'Brien. He's not happy. You certainly know what they're trying to do. If they can't get a boundary, they're just quite happy to drop it off the bat and get up the other end. But at what stage does boundaries become a premium, and what bowling options have you got left? Do you want them trying to take boundaries off Josh Little, Simi Singh? Do you want those guys bowled out?
Pulled away from PJ Moore. Could that be the boundary? It is. It's the boundary they needed, and also brings up PJ Moore's half century of just 38 deliveries. It's been an excellent knock from the former Zimbabwean Test cricketer, showing his worth with the bat in hand, the Munster Reds captain, and it's been a captain's knock so far.
It has. It's been a captain's day so far for him. He marshalled his bowlers very well, and he's come in and he's taken the senior role here, and a well-deserved 50.
Short again. And this time Balbirnie does good work on the deep square boundary, just keeps it to a single. ends the 14th over with the Munster Reds 87 for 3. I'm going to step away, Peter, and I'm going to let Andrew Leonard join you for what should be an exciting last 6 overs.
Thank you, Andrew. Those couple of boundaries, just keeping things in check there, making sure that the Munster Reds run rate doesn't just creep up to that uncomfortable stage, Lenny. You know, you get a bit dicey about 8. You know you need to pick up at least 1. They're quite comfortable there, just picking up singles, rotating strike, picking up the odd boundary here where they can. It just keeps things ticking nicely.
Yeah, you'd have to think, though, Peter, while PJ Moore is there, whatever the required run rate is, they'll feel it's very comfortable and very chaseable. Perhaps that lack of a 6 bowler, we referred to it a little bit, maybe just costing the Leinster Lightning or 7th bowler, even Kevin O'Brien not being used, O'Halloran and Rory Anders sharing the 5th bowler's duties.
Well, you feel with that type of wicket, is it almost, I don't want to say a Kevin O'Brien wicket, but him coming in just pace off, not quite spin, not quite
A lot of cutters.
fast, cutters, you know, squeeze it a bit. Is it worth trying?
I was just talking to Ger Siggins on my break, and he was saying that Kev has actually only bowled 2 overs in T20 since August 2018. We saw him bowl out in Abu Dhabi in the ODIs, Ireland's leading ODI wicket taker, but he doesn't bowl an awful lot these days. George Dockrell putting a lot on his shoulders himself. So nearly chops that one on. He's gone very deep in his crease there. PJ Moore lucky to survive here, Peter.
Yeah, that's just gone on with the arm there and cramped him up. You see what he's trying to do. You see he's trying to target that point, backward point area.
Really good bowling this, George Dockrell. He just looks to have a zip back and a misfield from Rory Anders. It's gone between his legs. It's going to cost a run. He kicks the turf in frustration just off your screen. That was sloppy.
Yeah, PJ Moore was slow off. Matt Ford called him through there. He was quite happy to take the risk. And PJ could have been left stranded there with a pick up and a throw to the non-striker's end, but 2 runs results.
Good from Rory Anders. He recovers well. Makes up for his mistake just prior, and Lorcan Tucker gives him a big clap. PJ Moore having to dive back in. Good spell this from Dockrell. Looks to me just to have found a little bit of his zip back in his bowling. This one down the leg side. Good glove work from Lorcan Tucker.
Yeah, got across well there. It's never easy to take those, especially if somebody bowls at that quicker pace that George does.
Just tying down PJ Moore. If Dockrell can get out of this over without a boundary, going to bring that required run rate right into the mix, moving towards 9s. And he's going to move up towards 9s. 43 it's going to be to win off 30. Where's your money, Peter Gillespie?
I still fancy Munster. Depending on PJ Moore, it's quite similar to the first innings there. That Simi was the mainstay of the Leinster Lightning. PJ Moore's certainly taking up that mantle.
Let's take a look at the bowling options. With 5 overs remaining, just the 1 over, the solitary over of Rory Anders. Seeing nothing from Kevin O'Brien, we spoke about as possibly being a bowling option. Barry McCarthy's 2 remaining overs going to be key. David O'Halloran's been expensive. And Simi Singh and George Dockrell an over left apiece. You'd have to think both of them will bowl 1 each. McCarthy will probably bowl 2. And we'll see Little bowl the other one. Will we not see any more from O'Halloran or Anders today?
Yeah, they would certainly be bottom of the pile when it comes to picking the finish. And here we are, Barry McCarthy comes back at the pavilion end. He really set the platform for any chance that Leinster have had in getting victory today with those 2 wickets and 2 balls.
Why the change of ends here for McCarthy? They're just backing their premium strike bowler with the shorter leg side boundary to protect.
You have to think that. You have to think that. I don't think he's going to bowl as short as the other bowlers. And PJ Moore's proved he's been very quick onto that short ball.
McCarthy gets it full and just over the head of Simi Singh. A little bit like the one that McCarthy himself put down, but Singh couldn't even get a hand in it. He was a little bit tight there at extra cover, because that wasn't timed at all from Moore. Moore gets back for 2. Should this have been a chance?
Definitely. You have to question, did he need to be so far in? I know they're rotating strike, I know they're squeezing singles. Simi could have been slightly deeper. You know he's going to bowl fuller, so there's always a chance he's going to be taking over his head.
Hit towards Singh, and another goalkeeper effort from Singh evades him. Again, if Singh was just that yard deeper, that would have been probably a simple catch, but it's got over his head. It's eluded him twice. 2 from the first delivery. This time it's flown away for 4.
Yeah, well, much better timing here from PJ Moore. Stand and deliver type shot. And now Simi Singh drops back onto the discs where we thought he should have been. Possibly.
Hindsight, Peter?
Hindsight's always wonderful.
A little bit of a rueful look from both George Dockrell and Barry McCarthy there. They felt that McCarthy's created 2 chances. Neither were even really laid a glove on by Simi Singh at cover. And as a consequence, Singh now right back on the edge of the 30-yard circle. Big swing and a miss from PJ Moore.
Yeah, strange. He's taken 6 off 2, and it was in the slot, yes, but you want to think he'd want to see this home. He's had a good over so far.
McCarthy just getting caught between 2 minds, whether to go for the block hole there or normal good length delivery.
I think he's going to push the ball forward. He's got to target the stumps. He's got to, wickets have to be the order of the day here for Lightning.
Slower ball hit down towards Kevin O'Brien, but it's going to soar over his head at long off. It was the off cutter, I believe, from Barry McCarthy, but PJ Moore is in such fine form. He's going to soar to the highest score of the IP20 so far this season. He moves to 69. Brilliant batting from the Zimbabwean.
Yeah, well, that was the shot we were expecting the ball before that he missed. Again in the slot, slightly slower. And the way PJ Moore's been batting today, he's not going to miss an opportunity like that. He's really, really anchored the innings here. It's been impressive. We've talked about earlier about why there's been no big scores, why no one's gone deep. And he's certainly pushing that today. We know he's a vastly experienced, very talented cricketer. And Munster have needed that type of innings from their skipper today. He's been very impressive behind the stumps and with the bat.
The break and play, that ball has been hit so far over the rope, it's been lost. 78 appearances for Zimbabwe. Peter Joseph Moore, known to everyone as PJ Moore, he's given up his time in Zimbabwe and he's moved permanently over to here in Ireland. If he ends up fulfilling the residency and qualifying, would you bet against him being another one of that exclusive list of cricketers who've played international cricket for 2 countries?
Absolutely not. In the way he's playing today, you can see the quality that he has. You can see the quality he has with the gloves. I mean, competition's not a bad thing, Lenny, and whether it's fast bowlers, whether it's batsmen, all-rounders, keepers. Larkin Tucker's took the mantle over the last few years, and he had to do it the hard way, deposing Gary Wilson. But he needs someone now to keep putting pressure on him.
Looks for the block hole, slightly over pitched. McCarthy will field off his own bowling, and you feel for Leinster Lightning to have any chance to win this game, they need to get the wicket of PJ Moore, and they need to get it now. Peter?
Yeah, that goes without saying. He's been at the forefront of this Munster Reds effort today. No more so than with the bat.
Hit down the ground, it's going to go all the way for 6. What power from PJ Moore, and to add insult to injury, Rolly Black extends his arm at square leg, saying that was going to go above waist height past the bowler, or past the batter PJ Moore. That's going to be a no ball, a free hit incoming. That's the worst possible result for Leinster. 7 runs to the total and a free hit to come.
Well, that's just an example of how well he's seeing. It's such a difficult ball to hit. You normally try and target the leg side with a full toss that high, but he's put it straight back over the bowler's head, Lenny. I mean, that's no mean feat. As you say, great power, and it's resulted in a maximum and a free hit.
Baseball style, really, wasn't it? And PJ Moore is not just swinging the game towards the Munster Reds, he's going to close it out. Here comes the free hit. Where's this one going to go? Surely to the leg side. Good bowling, finds the block out outside the off stump. He's going to be happy enough with the single because he'll keep the strike. Is that going to be the match? 20 runs coming from the over. It's just 23 to win now off 24. McCarthy looks away ruefully. PJ Moore, the highest score of the season. We've commented at length on the fact that batsmen haven't been making big scores. He's got 76. Could he close us out almost single-handedly for the Reds?
Yeah, I think it backs up what we've been saying as well, Lenny, that anyone who's taken the time to apply themselves, get used to the wicket, get used to that tennis ball bounce, know the length that you can target, know the length that's dangerous and to respect. He's done that, and he's reaping the rewards. He's really put his team in a strong position here now. He's got the run rate down to run a ball from that 8, and it's proven all day today. There's every over and every game and every innings, there's been that one big over, and it's just when it comes and how it affects the outcome of the game. It helped bring the Northern Knights out of nowhere into contention to take it right up to the last ball. It's taken the Reds from that tricky 8-ish and over down to a run of ball, and they should see it comfortably home from here.
Yeah, especially with 7 wickets in hand. George Dockrell to bowl his final over. I don't think PJ Moore will even mind if this is a tight over, 2 or 3 or 4 runs from it. I don't think he'll target Dockrell here. So nearly a dismissal. I think that's come away off a very fine outside edge. Maybe not a chance for Lorcan. Tucker would have gone straight to a first slip, but fortune is favouring PJ Moore right now.
Yeah, I think he's wanted to play that a lot finer. It's been very tight and off stump. He wanted to play it fine, but maybe not that fine, Lenny. It was more of an edge than he anticipated, but results in 4.
Powerful sweep shot behind square. Brilliant batting this from PJ Moore. He is very literally doing this from his own bat. He's just swapped bats, in fact. Got 60 odd with the first one. Likes the look of the new one as well. Doesn't matter which bat PJ Moore is using right now. That's a superb shot behind square on the leg side. 4 more.
Yeah, it's a shot of a man in form. You almost know the sound that's coming off bat. You said he'd be happy to get if he get out of this over with the tight over. He's just taken 9 from 3 balls.
I'm going to throw one at you here, Peter. Could he still get 100?
Theoretically, yes.
So
Takes a bit of an awareness from his partner.
Is Matt Ford going to do the right thing here and just block 2 out?
Well, I did the same myself last weekend for one of my second 11 colleagues. We needed 20 and he needed 19, and I actually chased a wide to block it for a dot ball so that he could back on strike, and he did get his 100 off for the last ball. We needed 1 or something. He had it for a boundary.
You can't buy experience, Peter, can you?
So it just depends on the awareness of Ford here. But I think Munster Reds would just be more than happy to take the win out of this game to start off the weekend.
Yeah, 15 shy of 100. Big appeal. That looks very close indeed. George Dockrell was convinced. Did Rolly Black just not believe it was going to straighten enough to go on and hit the stumps?
Yeah, when you know that George Dockrell's not going to turn the ball a lot, so anything that's coming on that line has to be confident that it's going to be missing all 3.
That one looked very close indeed to me, I'm going to have to say.
It'd be interesting to see a replay on that.
Don't think Matt Ford is on the PJ Moore 100 count or awareness. He might not even be aware of it because he's going to take the single and keep the strike, rob the strike from PJ Moore.
Points are a premium for Munster Reds. He had 1 win from 3 last weekend, and start off the weekend 1 from 1 here would be a fantastic result for them. Yeah,
this win for the Reds is going to mean a huge amount, particularly to Ted Williamson, the head coach, the ex-coach of the Leinster Lightning. Really proud Munster man. Played for Ireland himself, of course, and
played in that game. Played in when he made his debut up in Lurgan against the MCC.
It's a big, powerful left-handed hitter, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. He was, and as I say, if they win this match here today, that means they've beaten the Warriors and beaten the Lightning, with the Knights to come at some stage in the weekend. So you have to say they're they're on a good trajectory.
And even more fascinatingly, Sim starts with a leg break outside the off stump. That'll be a wide. It's going to put the Leinster Lightning on the bottom of the table after they got a bonus point win in the first game. Who could have predicted that just 3 games later? The bottom of the table, the reigning champions.
Maybe Mystic Meg, I'm not sure about us. Certainly wouldn't have put them down on, as you have alluded to several times today. You know, they've won 6 out of the last 8 competitions. It's team stacked with internationals. You definitely wouldn't imagine them being in this position.
Yeah, but I think they've got questions to answer as Matt Ford gets the reverse sweep away. You can see the joy from the Munster Reds side on the sideline. And the reason that's such a good shot, Peter, you can see here from the release of Simi Singh, he'd already bowled 1 leg break in the over, decides to bowl another one, so that's hitting with the spin, a perfectly safe shot.
Percentage shot. Simi's just trying to find any way to get a wicket here. Changing the field, but I think it's all coming a little bit too late, Lenny. They've marshalled this run chase very well from losing 2 quick wickets.
Beautifully bowled. Beats Matt Ford outside the off stump.
Seemed to have been a premeditation there, and he changed his mind at the last second.
A brilliant stat for you now, Peter. We see the leg break again, heaved into the leg side, and protection out there in the form of George Dockrell. This one coming from Ger Siggins as well, such a student and historian of the game. Leinster Lightning have never been outside of the top 2 placings since 2013 when the Interpros started. They're now 4th and bottom.
Yeah, it's...
This game is going to end in a hurry. That's going to tie the scores. That one's put onto the roof. Brenda Hand there, Fiona Hand's mother, taking evasive action. Alan Rose, the Knights manager, picks that one up. These leg breaks too tempting for PJ Moore to do anything but dispatch them.
Yeah, he's been in fantastic nick this innings, but as you say earlier, I think it's Leinster Lightning are in a position they've never found themselves before, and there's been big questions asked of their big players, so it's going to take some soul searching to see where they go from here. They've still got 2 games this weekend, short format games, anything can happen, but definitely not the form team at the moment.
That one is going to be that, and if PJ Moore is clever enough to not complete the run, he is, unlike George Dockrell the last time. He's going to finish with 95 not out. A little bit more support from his teammate Matt Ford. Maybe he would have got to that 100, but it's a career best for him on Irish soil. It's a career best for the Munster Reds. It's a career best in any T20 interprovincial or international here at this ground here at Bready from PJ Moore. What a knock, 95 from 58. He's led his side. He's the stand-in captain for Tyrone Kane. They've upset the apple cart, the Munster Reds. They did it last week against the Warriors. They've done it now against the reigning champions, the Lightning. They're 4th and bottom, but what about the Munster Reds? How good were they today?
Yeah, they've been very impressive today, Lenny. They put Leinster Lightning under pressure from very, very early on in their innings. Took wickets at regular intervals, never let them settle at all into the game. They were lucky, thanks to that last wicket partnership, to get up to 130. But as it turns out, Munster Reds have chased it very comfortably thanks to a fantastic knock from PJ Moore. Very, very, very well-paced innings. Accelerated when he needed, accelerated. Held back when he needed, held back. And that victorious skipper goes off. Magnificent
from the men from Munster. Quite simply marvellous stuff from them. PJ Moore, every single one of his teammates wants to give him a fist bump. I'm going to get out for the player of the match interview. I think there's only one choice, but I'm not going to give it away. I'll pass you over to Andrew Blair-White. He'll join you, Peter Gillespie, to talk through the cards.
Yeah, an excellent performance from the Munster Reds and brought about by an excellent display in the field. Poor enough batting card there for the Leinster Lightning. Simi Singh, the standout with 61, but unfortunately just not enough support there. Josh Little, the second top scorer with 14 not out. Tim Tector, the only other man to make it into double figures, just with 10 himself. The Munster Reds bowling figures extremely impressive.
Yeah, Matt Frost leading the way there, 2 for 14 off 4. Apart from Jack Carthy, all the Munster Reds bowlers kept the Leinster Lightning in check, took wickets at regular intervals, never let them settle into any kind of a rhythm, and resulted in a very chaseable total of 133. And credit to their bowlers. And that was backed up comprehensively by the Munster Reds batting lineup.
Yeah, well, I must confess, when Barry McCarthy had gotten rid of Seamus Lynch and Murray Cummins, both in the first 3 deliveries of the run chase, I thought the Lightning might well get very close to defending that total. But it was superb innings from PJ Moore, 95 not out from 58 deliveries, and ably assisted firstly by Jack Carty for 15, and Matt Ford with a run of ball 20 not out himself, getting them over the line with still 2 overs to go. And PJ Moore, an absolutely smashing innings, that 95 shots all round the ground.
Yeah, Jack Carthy won't get a lot of plaudits for that innings, 15 off 30, but he just did the job at the right time. He did what PJ Moore needed him to do. He just stabilised things. He allowed PJ Moore to get a grasp in his innings, and then he really was able to accelerate. And as you can see from the Leinster Lightning bowling card, apart from Barry McCarthy, no one really threatened to take wickets. In a small run chase, the batsman didn't have to take the risks the bowlers needed, and it resulted in a comfortable Munster Reds victory by 7 wickets.
Yeah, super win for the Reds. That brings them ahead of the Leinster Lightning in the table. Leinster Lightning rock bottom of the IP20 table at the moment, which is very unprecedented. And they're going to have to bounce back tomorrow, and we're back again for 2 games tomorrow. One at 11 a.m, one at 4 p.m, same again for Sunday. But that's a wrap from myself and from Peter today, and we're going to hand you over to Andrew Leonard, who has the player of the match.
Yeah, no surprise who the player of the match is here. I'm going to give that away in a second, but just some other notable performances in a really impressive Munster Reds performance. Just the one standout really for the Leinster Lightning, Simi Singh with 61, but for the Reds, brilliant performances from their bowling unit. Josh Manley leading the attack as he has done all the way through the season, 2 for 15. Fionn Hand, 2 for 37, and another moment of magic that could be going viral all over social media from the big man, 2 for 37 for him, and that brilliant catch. And both Frosts, the 2 Frost brothers, with 2 wickets, 2 for 14 for Michael, 2 for 15 for Alistair on his T20 debut. But no surprise at all, the player of the match to my left, an outstanding innings, 95 off 58, 10 fours, 4 sixes, a T20 career best for him. What a knock. Peter Joseph, PJ Moore, a delighted man, the Munster Reds captain to my left. Congratulations, PJ.
Thanks a lot, Lenny.
How much does that innings mean to you and your team?
Yeah, well, it means a lot to the side. I think, like you mentioned, the bowlers were fantastic early on. We knew when we were chasing 133 it was going to be a tough ask. We thought that was a good score on this wicket. But thankfully, it was my day, and hopefully the monkey's off the back now and a few more the rest of the weekend.
Do you feel like this is a second career for you? You've obviously given up now with Zimbabwe. You've come to Ireland on a permanent basis. Are you very happy here to commit your future to Irish cricket?
Absolutely. I mean, Ireland cricket have been great to me since I got over here. I've always had a huge fondness for Ireland, strong family connection. So, yeah, it's great to be over here, and I'm looking forward to what the future may hold.
That innings today is your career best, going past 92 that you made for Zimbabwe. Did you think just for a moment you might even had time to get to 100?
I didn't really think about it, to be honest. I just wanted to make sure we won the game in the end.
The team performance, though, as you alluded to, the bowling outstanding. It feels to me, for a side that's missing arguably their 3 strongest all-rounders, certainly Tyrone Kane, Curtis Camphor, Gareth Delaney, it looks like a side that's performing together brilliantly as a unit.
Yeah, I think we've gelled well, amazingly. I mean, we're all from different backgrounds. We travel from all around the country to meet up and practice, but everyone makes an effort to be there, and I think the general camaraderie in our change room is fantastic. So, yeah, I feel there'll be a few more strong performances this weekend.
I know you're a modest man, you don't like talking about yourself too much, but you were telling me off camera last week that you were absolutely hammering the ball in the nets, you just couldn't get the runs in the middle. You made that 49 off 24. Did that just give you that little bit of confidence to coming into this weekend?
Yeah, I think so. I think batting is such a confidence game. So when you start to play well, try and make that purple patch run for as long as possible. I think Murray Cummins did it brilliantly in the 50 over format and coming into the T20. So maybe now it's my chance to step up and just keep working hard and make sure that I make the most of it.
Special word for Tyrone Kane. He's going to be out for about 6 weeks with ankle injury. Brilliant captain. You're happy to step into his place.
Yeah, cheers, thank you. It's obviously pity that Tyrone's not here. He was doing a great job with us. Everyone respects him a lot in our change room, so it's a big blow for Munster. But Ali Frost came in today and he sort of did a job for us, and he was actually outstanding. So it's great that guys are stepping forward.
Final question. You've beaten the Northwest Warriors last week. You play them again tomorrow.
Yeah.
Can you do the double over them?
Absolutely.
It's a good answer to finish the interview. That's the player of the match, Peter Moore, a very deserving player of the match. Outstanding from him today. Probably one of the innings of the entire year in the interprovincials that we've seen. 95. It's led his side to a big victory and put the Leinster Lightning to the bottom of the table. Fantastic day of cricket. We saw a thrilling finish in the first match, a 1-run victory, and then a big upset again for the second time in 2 weeks from the Munster Reds. They're not just here to make up the numbers, they're here to compete. Can they do it again tomorrow? Can they beat the side that are on top of the table, the Northwest Warriors? You're going to find out live with us on Cricket Ireland TV. We thank you for watching. Thank you for all your support right the way around the world, tuning in record numbers. From me, Andrew Leonard, from Peter Gillespie, from Andrew Blair-White, from all the team, Collie, Ger, Baz, everyone involved, we thank you. We'll see you tomorrow. It's going to start at 11 a.m. We'll bring you every single ball.
Time to embrace the giant spirit of Derry Londonderry. Visit discovernorthernIreland.com.